delay between us talking and the chat responding. You know how it is. But yeah. Here.
All right, I'm just pulling you up now.
Yeah, you probably will give it a second.
There we go. I got it.
Chat. Yeah, we are live. Welcome, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers. Your only friend is YouTube Streets Puertorock77 with our normal Friday Night Live, but I'm doing it this Saturday afternoon, right? And I did it because I got a special guest. I got a great guest. The guys you recommended and asked for, he is here. Apparently, you love his dad jokes. We got the one and only the Mag. He is here, brother. What's going on? Thank you so much for showing up.
All right. Hey, man, it was an absolute pleasure. And listen, I got to thank you in advance for, changing your time and everything else just to accommodate me because, man, am I ever busy. I got so much going on with my career, YouTube, my kids, my family, all kinds of stuff going on, right? So look at that. El Nini's in the chat. What's up, brother? I see you there. He was watching me last night. So,
nice.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be here. I can't wait to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. And you know what? Honestly, this is the best way to do it. I've done shows with like 5 people, 6 people, 7 people, 8 people. It is so much you get to have so much more conversation when it's like got 2 guys talking or even 3 guys just having a conversation. You know what I mean? So you can get all the nuances of everything you're discussing. And then you're always gonna get someone clip you, but that's just the way it goes. Yeah, I know you're out there listening. I know he's out there listening right now.
James is out there. You have to worry about James. Have to worry about Astro Cyborg. They're like the Batman and Joker. Both of them 2 guys. They're bad.
Him. The other guy doesn't clip me. Astro clips me all the time. It was so funny. It was so funny, guys. Actually, the other day he says, "Oh, you blocked me," and I said, "Oh, I didn't block you. I said I just muted you because I can't listen to you anymore." So I actually don't. No, I think I haven't blocked now because he said something nasty. But it doesn't matter. He's there. He's waiting. He's like Batman. He's like Batman. He's like literally on the rooftop. Like with those little recorders in the earphones. He's sitting there listening to me right now. He's like, waiting for me to say something.
But he's going after the guys who are like jaywalking. You ever see like the TikTok version of Batman? Like you jaywalk. He's like, oh, and then he starts beating the shit out of the guy. Boom, boom, for a jaywalk. You're like, man, you're going after the wrong
Ice
people.
Queen Gaming. Ice Queen Gaming's got it. Not the clips. Yeah, the clips. Yeah, that's what it's all about with some of these guys.
We're going to provide the best clips. Let's provide the best clips. Let's do it. If it's going to happen, you know what? We're going to do it better than anybody else. That's how I accepted it. If I'm going to get clipped, it's going to be monumental. I'm going to make it a movie. But all right. But hey, man, I want to say thank you to the chat for rocking out. I hope you get to enjoy this show. I know you guys requested them, so we made it happen. So big shout out and thanks to the Mag. Just like anything else, please hit the like button and share this out. To get this video going or to get this live going. And we're just going to start off with the first super chat from Glassdoor Gamer. Mag, it's a hot one today in the GTA.
Yeah, man. Obviously, he's also from Toronto. So, yes, it is a hot one today. We got a heat wave coming for all you Americans out there.
What's a heat wave
for
you?
I was about to say,
Toronto,
hold up.
You're way north.
Hold up. Now, I was going to say, the funny thing is heat wave. I'm gonna check it right now. I'm gonna put 42 Celsius.
Oh yeah, I go by Celsius.
I have to do this because because we use Celsius up here. Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay, so tomorrow it's gonna be 108.
Okay, all right, that's a heat wave. That's a heat wave.
I mean, and a lot of people think we live in igloos, and I'm like, nah, bro. No. In the summer, it gets hot up here.
No, that's hot. So, that is hot.
Yeah,
that is hot. Especially you don't get that type of heat. You guys get cold up there, so it's a heat. Like England, I think they're going through a heat wave, but they say like 81.
Oh, I feel bad for them.
Like, get out of here, bro.
I feel bad for them because look at Ice Queen Gaming. It's warm in the UK. They don't have air conditioning. Because their buildings are so old that they didn't have a chance to put central air in there because it was literally built with stone and whatever else. And to retrofit that into a building, in a house in a building would cost you probably more than the house itself. So a lot of them don't even have it. I'm like, guys, just get that stupid thing from the 80s. You know, the one you put in the window? Yeah, the big square unit you put in the window.
That thing won. Those are winners.
I know they work. Like it's
the AC that you install yourself on the window. But I lived in Europe for like about 2 years in Germany. So Germany, they don't have ACs in their homes either. Some of the homes they still have the stove where you just put wood and the heat I was
That's
like, wait a
fun
minute.
though.
They're
I
gonna,
like
it is. It's
that,
cool.
though.
I'm like, you see them
I
collect
love
wood. I'm
that.
like, bro, it's like 2020. What are you doing here? No, but it's cool though. But
Yeah.
they don't have ACs because generally 99% of the year is chilly or cool or very, very cold. It's not hot.
Yeah.
So when they have those heat waves for like 5 days, they're dying. So they have to buy like 10 fans in the house and stuff. But it's pretty cool. All right. So yeah, 108, that's hot. That's really hot. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, brother. So, brother, thank you so much. So I like to kick off a little bit with the guests, right? Especially their first time, a little bit about their history in gaming, their childhood, So we'll start off. What was the first experience in gaming that you can remember what introduced you to gaming? What was your first, you know what I mean? That moment. Like everybody
Yep.
has that moment where like, oh shit, what is this? Cool. That
Yeah,
they can
yeah, yeah.
remember. What was it for you?
Okay. Easy. 1970. And you know why it's easy? Because we're talking
Oh
about it last
shit.
night on my live stream on the channel. Because I asked everybody, I said, what do you guys think was the first game I ever played? And they were all like listing all these games. So of course the answer is 1979 Pong. It was at my aunt and uncle's house. They had the wood one, like they had like the wooden panel console with the knobs on it and all that. And that was the very first console I've ever played. Very first video game I ever played. I was 4 years old. I'm 50 years old now. So I played Pong and I just instantly just connected. You know what I'm saying? Like I was staring at that screen going, oh my God. This is it. This is what I want. This is what I want to do. And then I graduated, no pun, whatever, like a year later. And then my dad, well, actually wasn't my dad, it was my mom, took me to the arcade in the mall. And actually, the funny thing is, I'll tell you about this in a second. It's called Wizard's Castle. And these are like old school arcades, kids, okay? Not the ones today where you have to pay $6 to play a racing game. And, you get tickets for all that.
You have to buy them. You have to get a whole card and load it up with $100.
Yeah, no kidding,
like
$100.
Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, and then I could get like 3,400 tickets so I can buy like an eraser and a pencil at the counter. No, this is old school arcade where everybody was smoking. You couldn't even see the screens. Everybody was in there with like long hair and shit, and everybody was hanging out and was, hey, bro, what's going on? And then you went in there, and I went in there, and the first game I played was Asteroids. And I was like, okay, Asteroid. That came out in 1979. Then my next game was Pac-Man. But the big one that really kicked it off for me is Miss Pac-Man. 1982, Miss Pac-Man. Really? I was 7 years old. And that's when I was like, okay, video games is now my life outside of my life. Like, that's my passion, right? And actually behind me, as you can see, I've got a bunch of arcade games here. Now, the cool thing is this is an homage to my childhood. Now, the reason why everything is blue, I also have neon signs, which I didn't turn on because the neon signs screw up the feed for like the camera. Yeah. But I have neon signs all around, and I got the original up at the very top. I've got the original arcade sign that they used to hang at Wizard's Castle. Wizard's Castle's interior colors were blue, and so I changed all my lighting in the walls to blue in order to reflect the Wizard's Castle, the very first arcade I've ever been in. And then, if let me move my big stupid head. There's the Miss Pac-Man right there.
Pac-Man, wow.
I bought that cabinet, and I'm not kidding. When I got the cabinet and I set it up, I know this is going to sound nuts. I literally cried because I said to myself when I was a little boy, I said, one day when I'm rich, I'm just stupid shit I was saying, but I'm like, when I'm rich, which I'm not, by the way, it's just, when you're a kid, you think, oh man, you got to be rich to have this. And I said, one day when I grow up and I'm going to be rich, I'm going to buy a Miss Pac-Man for myself. And it took damn near 40 something years later. And I bought the cabinet and I literally stared at it. And I swear to God, I'm not even kidding. I literally cried because I was just like, I've been waiting my whole life for that, and I finally got it. But I got Mortal Kombat. I got Dragon's Lair. Remember that one? The one with the cartoons? Right there.
I remember
that. I got Street Fighter in the back there. Street Fighter, that was like all of my 90s was Mortal Kombat.
The first one? The first Street
first
Fighter?
One. Yeah, right there.
That was
or Street Fighter 2,
nice.
Excuse me. Street Fighter 2, okay, Championship Edition.
Yeah, championship.
And then I've got
nice.
As an homage to meeting my wife, when we first started hanging out, we used to go to the bars and they used to have the Big Buck Hunter, right? And her and I used to play the Big Buck Hunter together, like and I bought the Big Buck Hunter, and her and I still come down here after married all these years. We still come down here, have some beers, and we still play Big Buck Hunter together. So yeah, and I got a pinball coming at some point, some other stuff. So anyways, that's how I started. My brother got a Nintendo. in the 80s. And that's where I was like, okay, this is it. My dad bought a PC way back in the day when I was a little boy, and he got King's Quest. Do you ever remember that? Everybody remember those games?
Yeah.
I got the King's Quest games on there, and that was the first
And
3D game
now, did he
ever
get like the
made.
Commodore? Did he get like the Commodore
No, it was
gaming
a
pack?
P-
Because that was, or it was actual PC.
It was
whatever.
a PC Junior, it was called.
Okay, Junior. Okay. All right.
IBM PC Junior, and he
IBM.
had King's Quest. That was the first 3D video game, like open world, so to speak, game ever made. And in those days, like my dad even drew all the maps by hand, saying, "Okay, this is where the cave is, this is where that is." And we used to go and do all this stuff. And not only just playing with him and with my brother and all that, we started like it just became like a community thing where I'm like, okay, now there's stories involved. I'm like, this is wild because now you've combined a couple of my favorite things. You've combined cinema and books into video games, because in the old days, Asteroids was not a story. You know, Miss Pac-Man's not a story. It's just, it's just a broad running around eating pellets, right? So anyways, there was that. And then and like Asteroids are just shooting rocks. But now I'm like, you just created a story? I'm like, now I'm in all the way. And then I never turned back. I stayed with Nintendo, Super Nintendo. And then I kind of dipped off for like a couple of years. And then the PlayStation 1 came out. And that literally, to this day, set me up for the way I am now. Tomb Raider, Resident Evil. Resident Evil still my favorite series of all time, hands down, is Resident Evil, without question. And I'm actually right now, because next Thursday, Capcom is doing the showcase, right? So Capcom's doing the showcase. We're going to be talking about, they're going to be showing a deep dive of Requiem, Resident Evil 9. And so in anticipation of that, all this week, obviously not tonight, because tonight's Saturday night, I got to go out. But I'm playing Resident Evil Village right now on my channel, and people are watching me play it, whatever. So still to this day, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, that changed everything. PlayStation 2. Then I went from PlayStation 2 to Xbox 360, because a bunch of guys at work had the 360. And remember, in those days, that's when it was really like popping off with like the Gears of War, Call of Duty 4. Remember 360 had all the marketing rights for Call of Duty and stuff like that. So everybody was on the 360 playing all the multiplayer games.
All that stuff, yeah.
Right? So I bought that. Actually, you know what really sold me on it? And this is, by the way, I want to say something about exclusives. And I still think that to this day, I don't care what these companies are doing. I still think exclusives are important, and I'll tell you why. Because I was sitting down, I was on the fence, right? I wasn't sure. I'm like, well, I've always been a PlayStation guy, like PlayStation 1 and 2. The 3 hadn't come out yet. And I'm like, I want to buy this 360 because everybody else is playing it at work, but that's a lot of money. So I'm sitting on the couch watching football, right? And go Bills. And anyways, so I'm watching football, and a commercial for Dead Rising comes on. And I'm sitting there going, what is this? Yes. And I'm a huge zombie fan, like movies, whatever, video games. And I'm a huge zombie fan, as I said, Resident Evil. But I'm also, like I said, the George A. Romero zombie movies, and of course, Dawn of the Dead, which takes place in the shopping mall. That was an homage to that movie. And so I'm watching and I'm like, you can play Dawn of the Dead? And I'm seeing bro with like the lawnmower and just taking people's heads off, blood everywhere. And the graphics were amazing. I literally went out and bought a 360 that day, because at the end of the commercial, it said exclusive on the Xbox 360. So I don't care what anybody says. 20 years later, I still feel the same way. It's fine that everybody's business practices have changed. Xbox does what they do and everything else. But I still feel that exclusives are important, because it sold me on that console and it sold me on that ecosystem. Because once I was there, right? I'm in the store. I see the games. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I'm like, that's how you hook people. So when people say, oh, well, selling a console is just a piece of plastic. No, it's not. You're selling them into the store. And when you get them in the store, you got them hooked. It's like Amazon, bro. Okay. Preach. Do you think Amazon gives a shit about what's it called? Reacher season 3? Do you think they care that people like it or not? No. You know what they care about? I'm watching Reacher season 3 on the couch with my feet up, and I look at my sock. I go, God damn it! I got a hole in my sock. What is the first place I go? Amazon Prime, and buy myself new socks. They got you hooked. Okay, you're in the store now. Okay, I needed actually, for jokes, I needed a alcohol breathalyzer test thing, because we're doing it with the neighbors. We bet on it to see what numbers we're at. And so I'm like, let's just buy it. And they're like, where do you buy it? I'm like, well, I'm already an Amazon Prime member. Boom! You're in the store. They get you. It's the same thing with PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, Steam. Once they get you in that store, that's where they get you. So this is how it all ties in. But anyways, enough of that nonsense. Then I got into the PS3. Then the PS3 was awesome. I played all those games. Last of Us, Uncharted. Fell in love with Uncharted all over again. Why? Because Uncharted brought me back to those Tomb Raider days, right? And I'm like, this is like Tomb Raider on crack.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was just bigger, big set pieces. Who the hell can ever forget Uncharted 2 when you're climbing up the train, you know, the beginning of the game, and you're climbing up the train and the thing's falling. I'm going, Jesus, this is amazing. This is like Steven Spielberg like directed this. Then I got to the Xbox One. A hot take. I've said this before. Xbox One launch was way better than the Series X launch. Just going to say that right now. The games that came out with the Xbox One were hot. Now, first 2 years, 3 years, they were on fire. Tomb Raider exclusivity for 1 year. A bunch of those other games, Rise, Son of Rome. They had the rights for Call of Duty Ghosts. It was. I didn't think that was a bad game. They had a whole bunch of games. Dead Rising 3 was exclusive, and I'm like, God damn it, this is awesome. And then they kind of ran into some trouble there. PS4 I got later in the game. I think I got it the same year God of War came out. And then obviously the new generation, I'm obviously much older and I'm in a better position to be able to say, you know what, I could buy both like day one. So I was Series X and PS5 day one. And the latest console I bought, obviously a little while ago, I got the PS5 Pro. So I'm all caught up. That's how I did everything. Oh, and somewhere in the midst, I sprinkled a little bit of Nintendo Switch in there. I'm not a huge fan of Nintendo anymore. I hate to say the word grew out of it.
I know what you mean, bro. Like, we're both there, right? I think
like it's more for the kids.
Yeah. So I think people forgot, and I think a lot of people don't understand us when we talk about Nintendo, because me and you, we're both saying call. So real quick, real cap, just to let you know. So I play arcades, but the moment for me that said I'm a gamer was when my uncle bought the ColecoVision, and I saw Rocky and Zaxxon, but in the home. I'm like, wait a minute. Like I'm looking at, I'm like, this looks like the arcade, and you're doing it in the house. I'm like, oh man, I gotta get this. I want me one. And the first console I ever got was the Sega Master System. And oh man, I was loving it. And then I got the NES, and then just like you, similar path, got multi-platform games across the board. But I think what people don't understand is Nintendo in its early days was the PlayStation that we see today. It had great first party, but it had the best third party support. It had the best graphics. So that's what we see Nintendo. So then when we see Nintendo now, where they're not all about pushing the console forward, pushing technology forward, moderate graphics, moderate stuff, and they got their first party, and a lot of it's like, you know, the cartoon stuff, which is fine. But like you said, it's mostly for the kids or the general audience, right? You're not going to see The Last of Us come out of them. They're not going to have their own version of those compelling games that we're attracted to across the board.
Press something in the chat here. Ron, I see you in there talking a lot. Listen.
Bro,
I'm not saying
there's two guys
anything.
that's going to talk a lot. Just give you a heads up. Aaron and Trucknet. I'm going to let you know.
Yeah. Ron is saying here, goes, I don't like Nintendo. Make it make sense. I don't like Nintendo. It's not because I don't like them. It's just not for me. But I still think that exclusives matter. Can you comprehend what I'm saying? So I'm saying is that, yes, they still matter. It's just Nintendo specifically is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You get what I'm saying now? So that's what I'm trying to say. So
yeah.
You know,
so like you could recognize an exclusive is great. Like for example, even I'll talk specifically on PlayStation. They know this. GT7 is an important exclusive for PlayStation, but I don't play that. I don't like racing games, so it doesn't matter to me. But it doesn't mean I don't recognize how important Gran Turismo is as an exclusive for the PlayStation franchise. I just don't like racing games, so I don't really care about that. That's just how it is, right? So we could recognize the exclusive Nintendo have is important for them, right? But that doesn't mean we have to particularly like those games simply because they're an exclusive. There's just a genre, right? And I agree with you, right, with the whole exclusive, right? Now, for me, part of the reasons that exclusive is important is when you try to make a dedicated device. If you're and this goes to any company. It's not a Microsoft thing or Xbox thing. It's any company that says, I want to make a gaming device. We personally are going to develop a gaming device, manufacture it, and we're going to sell it to the customer. Whether it's, remember TurboGrafx-16, 3DO, Atari Jaguar, Super NES, Genesis. I mean, back then we had a lot more consoles, right? But when a company decides to make a gaming device, it is on them to bring out the very best of that device, because the third party's not going to do it. Only third party only wants to make a game that could play on any device, and they're gonna do the best they can within the budget, within the time. But they can't focus. Like, for example, anybody who makes a multi-plat on, you know, Xbox and PlayStation, they can't worry and make sure, oh, we got to make sure the Series X is used 100%. They can't do that. They don't got the time. So what they're going to do is they're going to make a game that's generally good on Xbox and generally good on PlayStation. And what happens is when they do the head-to-head, depending how well they do it, one version might be better than the other. You've seen this gen, some versions of the PS5 game is better than the Series X and vice versa. Why? Because the third party is not, they can't invest the time to maximize it. But your own exclusive that you make it for that platform, you can do that. You can build your game to maximize whatever technology that you want, whatever technology you sold to the customer. So if I say, hey, Mag, buy the Puertorock box, it can do this, do this, do this, and I got my own development studio, it is my responsibility to show those games to you. I can't promise you what Ubisoft's going to do. I can't be like, hey, if Ubisoft don't maximize my console, I can't force them to do it because they make games for other platforms. But my guys, my exclusives, oh, we're going to give you all the bells and whistles. We're going to give you different performance modes. We're going to do everything that I told you my console could do. I'm going to show you. You're going to get it. And I'm going to show the third party it can be done. Whether they follow my lead or not, that's a different question. And that's why I say I like exclusives, because it shows the company's focus on that one device and they are dedicated to bring you the best. A multi-platform strategy, that's just a generic strategy to put games on every device. And in my saying is, if you're going to do that, then don't sell me a device then, because you're not going to give me everything that device can do. Then don't bother. Don't bother selling devices. Just stick to games, put it on any device. But if you have a dedicated device, it is your responsibility as a company to bring its best. That's your responsibility, not no one else's. That's why I like exclusives. It's not to keep games away or anything like that, or for me to talk shit online. Is if I buy a device, like for example, if I got a PS5, right? I want to make sure Sony is focused on that PS5 and they're doing the best they can to bring out the best top quality for their games. Right? The only other company that I think can do it is Rockstar, because they're usually Magic. But the majority of third-party industry, they do what they do, right? Even if some of the games are exclusive. Look at Final Fantasy 16 and even Remake and Rebirth, right? They launched first on PlayStation 5, but I'll be honest, I have not been impressed with Square Enix on a technical level, right? A lot of their games, they don't really look that great, or their performance was not that great, and they have to release patches after patches after patches, and then 5-6 months later, they finally fix the game. Same thing with Forspoken. So like this gen, Square Enix from a technical perspective, which is sad, because you probably remember the old Square Enix. You probably remember them when they were just Square Soft. Their games were some of the best in the industry. Like the early generation Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy 7 when it first came out, the Final Fantasy 8 and 9, like Tactics, Parasite Eve. These games were like industry defining, like, holy shit. This is why Square was like one of the top publishers of back in the day. But this gen, I'm like, man, you guys you either need to hire new talent or you need a better boss, because some of your stuff is like sometimes it's like, you know why? It's not even worth buying a Square Enix game day one, because it's going to take them 6 months to fix it. And that's annoying. I don't want to be like that. But little by little, these unoptimized games is going to force us to wait, because you're selling us a product that's not fully fleshed out or fully quality controlled. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny, actually, you mentioned that about basically becoming beta testers when games come out. I've got this thing that I've done recently, not recently, this generation particularly. What I do is a lot of times, if I'm going to buy a game, right? Like never mind, like what goes on with Game Pass and stuff like that. I'm talking about like if I'm buying a PlayStation game or a third party game or anything like that, where I actually have to purchase the game. A lot of times, and I tell people the same thing. I'm like, listen, guys, do you guys have a backlog? They're like, yes. I'm like, okay. Do you have great games in those backlogs? They're like, yes. Okay. Do yourself a favor. Go play those games. You bought them. Okay. You bought them. Go play them. Do whatever you got to do. Get your 1,000 achievements. Get your platinums. Whatever the hell you want to do. Play your games. Have fun. Do whatever. And then guess what? When that new game comes out, when that Assassin's Creed Shadows drops or whatever else, wait 5 months. Just play the other games, whatever. There's a lot of things that are going to happen. One, the price is going to go down like 40% or 30%, whatever. You're going to get a deal on the game. And second, they're going to optimize that game further and further as the game comes out. So by the time you get out and play this game, you're playing the best version of this game that's coming out. I said, so unless you have like massive FOMO or it's a Call of Duty title or something that you need to be there day one, like an online multiplayer or whatever else, and you're not going to wait 5 months, because when you wait 5 months, you've missed the wave. You know what I mean? Everybody's gone. They moved on to something else except for the extreme hardcore. Even the Call of Duty. If you play Call of Duty outside, obviously Call of Duty is a massive game, but I'm just saying that after that 3 months, you go and look at your lists of friends, right, on whatever system you're playing on, and you see all the names, and like they've all moved on, right? They've got their fill of Call of Duty for this year or whatever. The hardcore remain, but the rest don't. But anyway, the point is that you get the optimized game. For example, I got Star Wars Outlaws about 2 months ago. I got it for like 65, 70% off, whatever the hell it was. They got a massive deal on the game. And everybody that game got a lot of bad reviews when it came out. A lot of technical issues, a lot of problems, bad design of levels. Like they had the things where if you got caught when you were doing a stealth mission, the whole mission ended, and then you had to start all over again. They changed all that quality of life stuff, better graphics, everything else. I go and buy this game for like 70% off. I go sit down and play it, and it was amazing. And I keep telling them, like, guys, go and buy this game for $20 and play it. If you're an original trilogy Star Wars fan, you're going to love this. I'm walking around Jabba's palace with like Han Solo still in the carbonite. I went right up to him, and you can see the smoke coming off the carbonite, and Bib Fortuna standing there, and Salacious Crumb and all these other guys. And I'm like, this is awesome. You know how many people message me back and say, Meg, I can't believe how good this game is. And there's like, there's no issues, there's no bugs, there's no flaws. They changed the way the mission, like I said, the way the missions play now and stuff. And I'm like, that's all it takes. Sometimes you have to wait that extra bit to get them to optimize it properly, and all of a sudden you get a quality game. I said, don't be that beta tester all the time. We're going to spend $70 US, 100 Canadian dollars to go play a game that's going to be like, you're going to drop anyway. You're going to be like, you know what? I can't play this game. I'm going to drop this. I'll come back to it in 3 months when they fix this shit. So why don't you just wait the 3 months to begin with and just let them fix it and then get it at a better price? Listen, man, you're a consumer, not an ass kisser for a corporation. You're a consumer. So watch your own wallet. Protect yourself as a consumer. It's your money. You earned it. Whatever you do for a living, it's your money. So they got to earn that money. They got to earn every penny out of you. You don't gift it to them because they gave you a game. Make them work for it. I'm not going to go to the movie theater and spend $120 to take my kids to a movie if it's a shit movie. I heard the new Pixar movie, Elio, is garbage from what I heard. And I talked to a couple of Hollywood guys who saying, this is hands down the worst Pixar movie ever made. Do you think I'm going to drag my kids and my wife? Yeah, I know. I heard about it. I don't know. They said it's really bad. So anyways, do you think I'm going to drag my wife and my kids for $120 to go to the movie theater to buy $15 popcorn and $8 Coca-Cola, whatever, and then watch this movie for $120 and I heard it's bad? No. I'll watch it at home for free. You know what I mean? Or on Disney Plus or whatever down the road.
It comes out, yeah.
Just because you're Pixar doesn't mean you automatically earn my money just because I got kids. Same thing with video games. Just because I like, let's say, I don't know, let's pick a company, Ubisoft, okay? Just because I like Ubisoft, I do work for them actually in Ubisoft Toronto Studios. Doesn't mean I'm going to automatically give you $100 every time you drop a game. I have to see it first. I want to see the product. So, like, I understand all that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that, in fact, that's one of the reasons why I don't like the term. And you probably hear it all the time. Support the developers. I'm gonna be honest. I hate that damn term. I absolutely hate it. Right? Because it makes it seem like us as a consumers has an obligation for the financial welfare of these studios and developers and whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute. So it shouldn't be support the developers. Is if you like their product and they release a good product, then buy it. If you don't like their product or they don't release a good product, then you don't buy it. There is no financial guarantee that I need to buy your next game so the studio can survive. That's not my problem. You make a good product, I'm a buy it.
Yep. Let's say you go to a steakhouse. You're in New York, right?
No, I'm in California.
Oh, you're California. For some reason, I think you're in New York still. Okay.
Well, I'm from New York, so I have that attitude, but I'm stationed in California.
All right. Let's say you go out to a nice steak restaurant, okay? And you order a steak, whatever, 12-ounce prime rib or, prime whatever, medium rare, okay? And it comes out well done. Are you going to sit there and cut into it with your friggin' knife and go, well, support the chefs. Support the chefs. And you're paid $60 for the steak?
No,
You're not going to do that. You're going to be like, bro, I paid $60 for this thing. Sorry, I have to keep referring to US dollars because I'm not in the US. So, but you paid $60 for that steak. You're going to sit there and say, support the chefs and just shove it in your mouth anyway, the shoe leather? No, you're going to be like, bro, I spent $60 for this. I want what I was told I was going to get for the amount of money that I paid. This is no different. This all applies to the same thing. I know I just use food analogies like mooch, but it's the best way that sometimes
no one says support McDonald's.
Yeah. No one says support the mechanic if he messes up my tires.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm driving on the road and the lug nuts go flying off my tire and the tire falls off and my car's like this, you think I'm going to be in the ditch going, support support the mechanics. Support the mechanics as I'm like rolling in the ditch.
No. You're never gonna go to that mechanic. You're never gonna go to that mechanic shop again. Hell, you'll probably sue them, and you'll never have their business again. That's pretty much what it is, right? So, like anything else, they just need to release a good product, right? And I always said, and I'm glad you touched on it. If you know you're gonna release updates over the next 3 months to fix the game, then delay the launch and apply the updates, and then release the game because first impression is everything in gaming, right? Because what happens is if gamers adopt that model, be like, you know what, I'm not gonna buy day one games. I'm just gonna wait because you guys don't release completed games anyway. What happens is they don't get their $60-$70 day one. These games get bought at $40, and that's not good for the studio anyway, right? But that's their fault. They're the ones that are devaluating their own games because they're worrying about launching it first and not launching quality right off the get-go. They need to get back to, hey, when we launch our games, it's going to be a complete quality game. There might be a little small hiccups here and there, right? But not some of these major issues where you have a performance mode that's supposed to be 60 and the game's running at 32 frames or 35 frames of performance. Right. We're like, bro, you are way off the mark.
That's not what you paid for.
Yeah, like 58, 59, 57, okay. You're off by 3-4 FPS. It got VRR. You can optimize it a little bit. But when your shit's running at 40 FPS performance mode, you're nowhere near the mark. Like, you are way off. You should have never released this game. Like, don't even bother, And then when you release 2 months later, oh yeah, we improved the graphics. Like, wait a minute, you improved the graphics in 2 months? Then you could have delayed the game, and those improved graphics wouldn't have been improved. They would have been default. They would have been the graphics you got from the day but you see what I'm saying? Like, improved graphics 3 months later. What do you mean improved graphics? No, that means you should have waited and gave us those graphics from the get-go, because some people already beat the game by the time the 3 months come. And now you come up 3 months later, oh yeah, we improved the graphics and the resolution. And you're like, bro, I already beat the game. So now you're telling me I missed out on a better looking game because I bought it early? Because I bought it day one? This is how you treat your day one customers?
Well, see, that's bureaucracy, because what ends up happening is that's corporate bureaucracy, because what happens is from the top, the shareholders start pushing, and when the shareholders start pushing, then the brass start pushing, and then the brass start pushing onto the management, and then the management then pushes onto the team and saying, you have to release this October 30th or whatever date, and you have to do it then because we're about to hit Q2 financials. It needs to be out because it's all about optics, right? I'm not saying that's right. I'm just telling you that's the reality of the situation.
Completely understand. That's the reality.
Right?
And so then it bites him in the ass.
Where's this guy? Yeah.
Who?
So I was going to say Zap Gaming.
Zap Gaming.
Name all the games that you can get demos of, please. He's saying that the steak thing is like is a horrible take. How's it a horrible take? Name all the games I got demos I could play for. I get no demos. Maybe 1 or 2 demos here and there. The rest you don't get a demo for. Okay. I didn't get a demo for like Assassin's Creed Shadows. Did you?
Yeah.
Or any of these third-party games? I don't get.
We can even modify the steak thing. Let's say you go to Steakhouse, right?
There's a lot. Write them down. Let me see them.
You cook it. You ask your steak, but it doesn't taste good. You're like, all right, whatever. You go back to the restaurant. You order lamb chops. That doesn't taste good. So you went to this restaurant twice, and you don't like their food. Are you going to go back the third time to support that restaurant to make sure you don't go out of business? No. They're not cooking the food that you like. So you're not going to go there and be forced to that restaurant. You're going to go to the restaurant that you do like. So another restaurant shows up. You order a steak, and it's the best steak you tasted. You go back another time, lamb chops, my God, melts in your mouth. You're going to go to that restaurant, not because you are obligated to. It's because you're ordering food, and it's delicious. That's what we're saying.
you got the product that you're paying for, and that applies to
And you
video
love
games, just like you're saying, right? Portal Player, what's
and
up,
so you
buddy?
keep
Thanks for
going
coming to
back.
the stream last night.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Let me hit.
I recognize a few names in the chat here.
That's nice.
What's up,
That's
guys?
awesome. Gordon P23, Astro has been caught gooning many times online. He is a creep. Oh Lord, listen. Oh boy, let's stay out of that topic. Glassdoor Gamer. I remember playing Street Fighter in the arcade. You knew when the one Asian dude was standing behind you waiting, you were going to get smoked. Yo,
Dude, you know where I learned Street Fighter? I was messing around with Street Fighter in a bowling alley. And I was just playing it because they had, like, you remember, like, in the old school days, the bowling alley would have like 2 arcades sitting in the corner or whatever, right? And 1 pinball machine. And I was playing Street Fighter, and I was playing with Dalsum, the Indian character, right? And I'm farting around with it, whatever. And this Chinese guy comes in, right? And he goes, "Let me show you how to play this game." And he showed me like the ways of the Force, and I was just like, oh, this guy showed me like the real deal, like how to do this, how to do that. I was using Ken and Ryu, the uppercuts, the blocks, the jump, and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden I became a pro, and this guy like taught me everything. He's like, no, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. And then that was it. Then I was unstoppable. But I was like, it was like being trained by Mr. Miyagi. I was like, that was it, man. I was like the Street Fighter kid after that. But and then Mortal Kombat came out and changed everything. God damn it, that was so good. But
so I remember. So quick story on that one, Mortal Kombat. So Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, that was like the big deal, right? I remember
that's the one I got.
I remember we had
edition,
we had a pizza shop. That was about 2 blocks away from my junior high school. And after school, everybody would just go to this pizza shop, and we'll have like a Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition tournament. Sorry, but I remember the day Mortal Kombat. So just like normal, bell rings, everybody out to school. We're gonna do our normal routine, talk, add some pizza, play some Street Fighter. We see this Mortal Kombat machine there, and we're like, "What happened to Street Fighter? Like, what the? Like, everybody's upset." And it's like, oh man, what is this shit? So we see this, we see these guys. It's like, all right, what is this? Midway, what game is this? We see them fighting. It's not as fast as Street Fighter. It seems slower. And we're like, we're already judging it. We're like, man, this is slower. It's not as fast. It doesn't have no super moves. And we see 2 guys playing it. And like, it doesn't have super moves. And then all of a sudden, finish him. The guy had, Sub-Zero, and he ripped his head off. We were like,
yeah, what
we were looking
just
at each
happened?
other like, we were looking at each other like,
yep. Like, what just happened?
You see the spine and the blood dripping, and we never seen that in games. Because if you remember, that became the news. They wanted to ban the game and all that. So we were confused. We're like, yo, you could do that in game? Like, is that allowed? We were looking at each other like, what the fuck was that?
Yep, like, that changed everything. The scary music.
And we don't know who this guy was. We never seen him before, and he's explained the game to us. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, how you do that? And he's telling us, oh yeah, this game, has moves. When you beat the guy, you kill him. So it's like like a shit talking thing. We're like, oh my God. And then that became the hit. Everybody's learning all these fatalities. We're buying magazines, trying to find the cheat guys and the moves. Yo, that was like, I remember that day vividly.
Dude, you remember like printing out, by the way, Zap Gaming, thank you. He's saying there's 183 games on trial mode in the PlayStation Store. I had no idea. There's even more.
But that's the premium. I didn't realize that's the premium. You have to get premium. When he says trial mode,
that's probably why I don't see.
That's reserved for the premium tier guys.
Okay, that's
the subscription service. So they have trials like 1 or 2 hours, but you have to pay for it. As compared to back in the days, we used to get a disc.
Remember the disc?
We used to just in the
magazine.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, so you get the magazine and it had the disc inside, and then we were so excited because you got to play like 20, 30 minutes of each game. That was awesome. But man.
The trial mode's not bad, but demos today, they give you demos of the old build, not the current build. So you still don't know what you're getting when the game comes out, right? Let me do one last conversation. Hey, Gordo, I deleted the last 3 super chats. I really appreciate you rocking out with the channel, but those super chats were inappropriate. Please don't talk about AA Ron's mom and what you're gonna do to her. That's not good, bro.
I did see those. I'm like, inappropriate.
I don't think you
talking about me.
Like, bro, like, I don't think you understand what you said. Like, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, Gordo. Like, all right,
I did see it. Yeah,
keep families off the table. All right, talk shit, consoles. Our own intellect. but please keep family and stuff off the table, all right, Gordo?
Haven't you ever
Please.
seen the movie Nobody? Remember what he said in the movie Nobody?
Yeah.
He says, "You came to my house with my family, which you don't fucking do."
Yeah.
That's the no, man. You do not go to the house and the family. That's the thing. You can battle in the streets. Keep the families and homes away from it.
Yeah, keep
I did read
the civilians.
I did
Keep the
read
civilians.
Super Chats, so I did read them.
Oh, yeah. Keep.
I saw them before you. Yeah,
I know. All right, keep the super chats. Keep the super chat. Keep the civilians out of the conflict. All right. Keep super chat. Keep the civilians away from the war. All right. Okay. So
what's up?
Quick question. What so far 3 years, what has been your favorite generation of gaming? Right? And I know it's looking through rose tinted glasses and whatever, but what generation really you remember was probably the most enjoyable for you out of all of them?
I gotta say,
it doesn't have to, I'm not saying it's the best generation, just for you, which is the generation where you probably enjoyed it the most. There was just so much going on. So what was it for you? Which generation was it for you?
I gotta put a two-way tie for first place. I can't pick one over the other.
All right.
PS1, Xbox 360 for two different reasons. I'll explain both very, very quickly. PS1 literally changed, no pun intended, literally changed the game for me, because that's when I was like, holy shit. The first time I saw Resident Evil, I went into a store, a game store, and the dude was playing it up on the tube TV, and I'm like, what is that? And then he's like, he got to the menu, he got his equipped his knife, then went back to the gun and this, and it was scary and it looked awesome, and I'm like, what is this? And he's like, oh dude, this is a new thing called Resident Evil, and it introduced a whole new level of quality for me. Resident Evil, Tomb Raider were the two big ones for me, and they just enveloped my entire being. I remember being in school or going to work eventually properly, and then I was just like, okay, maybe if I move this rock or I find the key behind that bush, I'll try it on that door over there. Like you weren't even near a console, but your brain was constantly thinking about what you were going to do next. The stories were excellent and everything else. And the PS1 really brought me into console gaming hard, because I was just like, this is incredible. The 360 was different because it introduced me to the online world. Keep in mind, folks, and I've said this a million times on other channels, I never played the original Xbox. I never had one, never owned one. My first Xbox was the Xbox 360, so I never had LAN parties with Halo and all that jazz.
That's majority of Xbox gamers, right? Because they didn't sell a lot.
It's
the OG.
Right. Yeah, because nobody knew what it was. It was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
The 360 opened my eyes to the online world, where I was playing Call of Duty, Gears of War. I even remember playing online Splinter Cell. You remember that? It was like agents versus like terrorists or whatever the hell it was, and all that kind of stuff. It was amazing. Online racing. I remember playing online racing with all my buddies. We'd play Need for Speed. Remember that? We'd all line up, and I was like, this is like the real deal Fast and Furious. This is when Fast and Furious first came out. 1, 2, and 3, and everybody was really into it. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm playing Fast and Furious. So 360 opened my eyes to the online world that I had never experienced before, where it was so exhilarating. And of course, with all the, all the comments and everybody talking in the chats, you remember those days, the toxic talks in the chat, it introduced me to that online world where like, this is so awesome. And as soon as we would finish work, we'd be like, guys, squad up tonight. Yep. 11 o'clock. Let's go. And like, sometimes we weren't even going to bars and hanging out with girls and this and that. A lot of times we're just like, let's go home and play Call of Duty. And we were like, or Gears of War. The first Gears of War was like, holy crap, what is this? Chainsaws and blood and like shit would splatter on the screen. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And so two different reasons. One, the PS1 and the 360 for me were the most impactful generations I had ever experienced. Now, it doesn't mean the other ones sucked. The other ones were all awesome, just for different reasons. Those were peak for me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's so that's why I was asking, because everybody has a different. Not saying one's better than the other, but they just have more memories and stuff like that. For me, it was the Super NES, Genesis, gen, TurboGrafx 16. I had all 3 consoles, and I was playing all 3. Like on TurboGrafx 16, I had Splatterhouse, Bloody Wolf, Bonk. Then Genesis, they had Alter Beast, they had Golden Axe, they had all these games, right? And then Super NES had the Final Fantasies, the Mario, and it was just like a frenzy trying to play all the games between all 3 platforms. And then your friend has games, and that was also the rise of game rentals, with Blockbuster and stuff like that. NBA Gen. There was just a lot of stuff going on that gen. It was just a lot. It was the rise of Sonic versus Mario. There was just a lot of competition, a lot of exclusive competition, and there was just great games across all 3 platforms, right? But obviously Genesis and Super NES was that. And then the next one for me, similar reasons for you, but it was the PS2 gen, because I had a Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, and the OG Xbox, and all 3 consoles were online. Not Genesis, the Dreamcast was actually my first introduction to online because they had the Sega Net.
Really?
So I was playing 2K online basketball, and that was the first time I was playing sports online. I'm like, oh shit, I don't need to wait on the weekend to get my boys over the house. We could just
do it now
any day of the week. And I'm like, and I was doing that on the Genesis, on the Dreamcast. And I was like, yo, this is awesome. And then PlayStation 2 came out. They had their own online, and I'm playing SOCOM. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. And I'm playing NBA Live. And then the Xbox came out with Xbox Live, and that shit took it to a whole new level with the Xbox Live.
Did you have the original Xbox?
Yes, I did. I still have it. I still actually have the physical. It's one of the few items that I kept because I'm not a collector, but somehow there's a few items that I kept, and the OG Xbox is one of them, and I loved it. Yeah. Man, and like Splinter Cell, that thing you're talking about, that happened on the OG Xbox.
Was that on the OG? I thought that was on the next.
It started. That started on the OG Xbox. Mercs versus Mercs versus Spies. It was also on the PlayStation 2. Mercs versus Spies, but the OG Xbox version was better. It was smoother, better experience. But that inline thing, I was like, holy shit! Like between PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, which died, but it was still a great console, and the OG Xbox. Those are the 2 generations that really resonated. I'm like, man, this is great. Like this is just awesome. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, there's just some generations of like the consoles that just grab you, and but it's all personal at the end of the day. It's all like your personal experiences that make you feel that way. It's just like a movie. Like you can go to a movie, it could be the greatest movie ever made, and 100 people are watching it, 90 people would agree with you. There's going to be 10 that don't because it didn't connect with them in a different way. Green Ninja in the chat, Halo is going to PlayStation, just so you know. There are 3 projects. Sorry, he's asking. He goes, I wish we could also get Halo 2. Because he's talking about Gears and Gears of War 1 and E-Day. But Halo is coming too. They got 3 projects in the works, just so you know, Halo Studios.
Okay.
There's the Halo remake of the first one. They're doing an offshoot game. Yeah, they're doing an offshoot game like an ODST kind of game or whatever, or ODST Halo Reach. ODST. They're working on another project there, and then they're doing a mainline actual Halo game as well. So there's 3 projects, and they will be going to PlayStation. So if you're only on the PlayStation, then there's nothing to fear except you're gonna have to pay for it. Just so you know, pay for it. Everybody's paying for it. Just you're gonna have to pay for it as opposed to a subscription service. By the way, the Gears of War 1 situation, the Reloaded. I'll be quick on this. They're doing all 3, but they were originally going to put it in as a package. It was going to be a $70 all-in kind of thing of all 3 games. It was going to be a Marcus Phoenix collection, which I've been talking about for almost 2 years. Why? Because I know the guys who played the damn thing. It does exist, all 3 of them. However, what they ended up doing for marketing reasons and, of course, for financial reasons, they're splitting up all 3, and they're going to release them intermittently very much. So it'll be like maybe 1 a year, maybe 1 every year and a half. Not sure the cadence because they never said. You will be getting Gears of War 2 and 3 remasters as well.
Now, but they will all be come out before $40 a piece. Gears E-Day? Is that the plan to have all 2 games out before E-Day?
No. They won't not come out before. So they're doing Reloaded now. E-Day is the next one. Then after E-Day, they're going to go back to 2. And then I don't know what's going to happen between 2 and 3. That's way too far off for me to get any information on. However, I assure you all 3 are coming at $40 a piece, US, of course. But E-Day is coming in between all that. So the next one, obviously, is in August. Don't ask me to play multiplayer, okay? Because I suck at it in that game. Jesus. Call of Duty, I can shred. Man. Call of Duty, I can still shred now. My son and I, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 every match. Nice. No problem. Get me in a Gears of War, last place every time. Dude,
He's like, you know what? You can't be good at everything. Sometimes you just gotta admit. It's like Clint Eastwood said, a man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah, no kidding. Green Ninja, I don't know about Gears 4 and 5. All I know is that those ones I had just mentioned. But E-Day is coming to PlayStation, Solo Gears.
Now you think with E-Day, because I'll say this, if I played all the Gears of War except for Judgment. That's the one I didn't play. But I played Gears of War 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Gears 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and 5 to me, like 4 and 5 felt different than 1, 2, and 3, right? It was like they're going in a different direction. Like it just didn't feel like 1, 2, and 3. Now, when I saw Gears of War E-Day, it just gives me the perception they're trying to go back to the magic of 1, 2, and 3 and move away with what they did with 4 and 5. So, like, I don't know if they plan to remaster 4 and 5, if that's what they're trying to do. If you're trying to be like, you know what? We need to take it back to the 1, 2, and 3 feel and not so much the 4 and 5, then, hey, let's remaster 1, 2, and 3 to get the new audience, release, have Gears E-Day, and then we're just going to move on from there. We're just going to move away from the 4 and 5 formula, because you just feel like I played 4 and 5, but I'm like, man, it's Gears in general sense for the most part, but it wasn't like the first 3. I don't know what it was. I'm like, it's good, it's cool, but it just didn't feel like the same magic as the first 3.
Listen, think about this. It's like the Marvel Studios, right? You have like after Endgame came out, you've got 3 or 4 outside of the Spider-Man movies, you got 3 or 4 years of just whatever, right? And then what are they doing now? Right? What are they doing now? They bring back the Russo brothers. They're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. They're bringing back Thor. They're bringing back Cap. They're bringing back Hulk. Spider-Man's got
go back to the
new
magic.
Yeah, what's it called? Spider-Man New Day is coming out.
Punisher's in there.
Punisher's in 3. He's in 3 pictures. So he's going to be 3 projects. Yeah. Well, he's going to be in Daredevil season 2, his own show, which is going to be a short, like a special. It's going to be a limited special, and then he's going to be in Spider-Man New Day. Also, look for Hulk in the one of the scripts that I saw for Spider-Man New Day had Hulk in it. And now, I don't know if that's the final script. Just one of the scripts I read, because I got a lot of people in Hollywood that I talked to. So one of the scripts I did read had Hulk in it, and they're setting up Planet Hulk. So if you're into Hulk, Spider-Man New Day might be a jumping point for Planet Hulk. Not guaranteed. That was just a draft that I read. So if they kept that, like, please bring me all that. But we shall see. And then, of course, this all ties into Secret Wars, right? Not Doomsday. Secret Wars. Secret Wars, some people are going to skip Doomsday and then show up in Secret Wars. So we shall see how that works out. Anyway, sorry, that was a side tangent. My apologies.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Oh, okay, but that's pretty cool. Like when I saw Punisher going to be in the next Spider-Man, I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, Spider-Man's great, but it's kind of PG-ish. It's PG-ish. I'm like, how is Spider-Man going to react when he sees Punisher?
Yeah, I mean, they might nerf him a bit. Like
Spider-Man's going to be like,
yeah, I know. Can you imagine?
He's going to be like, what the fuck?
They're not going to have him
looking at. Yeah.
Well, they're not going to have him poking people's eyeballs like season 1. Remember that? He took the general's eyeballs and poked his eyes. They're not going to do that in a Spider-Man movie. Like, can you imagine my daughter sitting there, 9 years old, with her popcorn and be like, "Daddy, what happened to his eyeballs?" I'll be like, "Honey, just look at something else." So they're not going to do that. But anyways, the reason why we brought that up is because very similar, you want to bring back that feel. So like, okay, the Gears thing, 4 and 5, didn't hit the same for a lot of people, and they're like, how can we bring this back? And so what do? You bring back Dom, you bring back Marcus Phoenix, you start at the beginning. But I had a theory about this, and this is a theory, this is just a thought. Another reason why they're going back, this is obviously not the only reason. You don't do a creative reason for business purposes. However, I still feel that this is the smartest thing to do when you're introducing, and this was considered a conspiracy a year and a half ago, even though I already knew what the truth was. Is that by going to the back and releasing Gears of War Reloaded and then Gears E-Day is to introduce them to a PlayStation audience that's never played a Gears game before. So why not introduce them from the beginning? You do the Marcus Phoenix collection, get them to get the backstory going, and you whet their appetite and go, yo, that campaign was dope. And then E-Day drops. People will line up and be like, okay. And you know what the thing is? It's working. because the last time I checked, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, Gears Reloaded was the #1 pre-ordered game on the PlayStation. And it just overtook, at that point, I think Death Stranding 2 was #1, and then Gears Reloaded. Now, that's also not fair because Gears of War Reloaded is also $20 cheaper than Death Strandings, right? So that's a full price game versus a game that you could get for like almost like an indie game, like a Little Nightmares you could buy for $50, or Rematch, the new soccer game you could buy for $50. No, I think for you guys it's 30. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's a little bit cheaper, so it's a little more accessible for people. But either way, it's the #1 pre-ordered game. So guess what? If this game, if a lot of PlayStation players really gravitate and go, yeah, that was awesome, I really enjoyed the campaign. The multiplayer you could play now, that's hit or miss for me. I never liked the Gears multiplayer, but I've always loved the story. Playing the campaign, especially co-op with my wife, something like that, right? So if that works, E-Day is going to be a monster hit, right? Because it's going to be brand new graphics, new this, new that, new gameplay. And I think that's going to be a huge hit. It's a smart thing to do to put it over there. So that was my conspiracy a year and a half ago, saying this is one of the reasons why they went back to the beginning, is to introduce it to a whole new audience.
I also think that the Reload is supposed to invigorate the Gears, because that's another thing. With the Xbox One gen, it seems like that gen, the continued games for the franchises kind of downgraded. How would you say? Like Halo 5 didn't do good for continuing like Halo 4 and 5 didn't do good to continue the Halo legacy. Then Infinite came out. Is also like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like Gears 4 and 5 didn't really do much for the franchise. So it's kind of like it dragged the franchise down, you know? So when Halo 1, 2, and 3 came out in Reach, those games put Halo on the map, top games, like, oh my God, these are like the S tier games. Then 4 and 5 came out and it's like, all right, you're not really S tier level no more. Sure, overall, you're still a well-known franchise, but these games kind of like dragged you down a bit. Then Gears of War 4 and 5 came out. So now you're S tier level franchise, but these games kind of like dragged you down again, right? From out of that scope. So now let's go back to, like you said, let's go back to the beginning, and then hopefully Gears E-Day can bring it back up to that S tier. Holy shit, this is the franchise you got to play.
About it.
Yeah,
everybody's talking about it. It's got a big buzz because it has those characters that everybody fell in love with. To be quite honest, I never wanted to play as Marcus Phoenix's son. I can't remember his name. And then the girl in the fifth one. I got nothing against playing females in a game, by the way. I actually, if I have a choice of playing a character, I know it sounds kind of weird, but I think this brings me back to the Tomb Raider Resident Evil days. I actually pick the female characters because they're more interesting and they move different. They're quicker with their movements and more agile than, like, let's say the big bulky or like male tanks and stuff. I actually prefer the faster one. So for example, when I play Assassin's Creed Shadows, when I get it on discount, hopefully soon, I'm actually going to play as the girl because I want to be able to, the ninja. Ding, 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 ding. I want to jump around and this and that. And it's not for any other reason. I just, they'll be like, oh, you don't want to play as Yosuke because of this and that. I'm like, no, I don't like playing as a tank. It's just not my style of gaming. I think there's going to be areas where I have no choice. That's fine. But if I have a choice, I'm going to pick her because I like that. I like the agility and mobility of the smaller, more, characters. Anyways, that's besides the point. Gears 4, I was making a joke about it on XNC with Colt there, and I was like, dude, the whole first half of the game was shooting robots. You remember that? You're like walking up, and all of a sudden the balls would roll like Star Wars Episode 1. And then they open up, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden they come in. I'm like, Jesus Christ, more robots, right? And then all of a sudden I kill them. I'm like, finally. You move on, all of a sudden, and then all I was thinking is just, I was going to hear those guys from Star Wars Episode 1 like, release the droidicas. And I'm like, Jesus, more robots. This is not Gears of War to me, right? Yeah. Give me the blood and guts and the chainsaws. I want to see intestines hit the screen. That's what it was all about. It was horror. It was scary. And anybody who hasn't played, by the way, the first game, if you're buying it on PlayStation this August, you're in for a treat with that story because it's basically like a horror game. You remember some of those scenes? I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm just going to you're going through some of these dark areas, whatever, mucus and water dripping off steaming pipes, and you're underground with a flashlight and your big fucking gun with the chainsaw, and you're just going through scary music. It's dark. You don't know what's about to jump out at you. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. And I think that's where E-Day is going to bring us back to the horror roots, horror violence roots of the games. And that's what was missing in the new ones. I found them to be a little too clean in that respect, where I'm like, this doesn't feel the same. I'm not scared. You know what I'm saying? I'm not scared of rolling robots. You know what I mean? I was scared of going through tunnels with those monsters in there, and you can hear them breathing, but you didn't know where they were. Like, that's scary. But anyways, sorry. I was just going off on a tangent.
Oh, but that's
yeah,
all
see,
good
Combo
points.
Smurf, not gritty enough. Thank you. That's exactly what it was. And
Like
Leo Leon in the chat says the same thing. Love the atmosphere of the first game. That's what was missing from those new ones, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah. So like, yeah. So I'll be honest. Like Halo 4, 5, Gears 4, 5. I don't remember much about it. Like they're not memorable. Like
yeah, but I can tell you every story
played
them 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And I'm like,
I mean 4.
Yeah,
Judgment.
I'm like, I played it and I'm like, all right, it's okay, and I moved on. Same thing with Halo Infinite, right? Like how you felt about Halo Infinite. Have you played the original Halos and then like
yeah, I played them all.
Okay. Yeah, so how you felt about Halo Infinite as compared to like how do you feel about the first 3 Halos or even Reach, Halos 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the 343 saga of Halo 4, 5, and Infinite? Because to me, those are the 2 sagas. That way I look at it. You got the Bungie saga of 1 through Reach, and then you got the 343 takeover. How do you feel how 343 handled Halo since they took it over?
One, 2, and 3 was a different situation where it just felt like it had a certain feel about it. You know what I mean? Never mind the controls. We're not going to talk about the controls or lack of a sprint button or lack of a aim down sights or whatever else. We're going to ignore that. We're just going to talk about the game itself. I would say that those first 3 were so much. They were a cultural phenomenon, and not just because it was new, is because they were really, really good. I actually really liked 4. I thought 4 was good. I'm like, this is actually pretty good. The story's good, whatever. 5 didn't hit the same way. Obviously, I thought it was not very good. As obviously a lot of other people, it was pretty universally panned as not a very good entry. The funny thing is, I really enjoyed Halo Infinite story. I know it was a little bit of a bare bones open world, but I liked the grapple thing, the punch, like you could grapple and then punch the dude in the mouth or whatever. That was pretty dope. I love that. The multiplayer was really good, except they took their sweet ass time with releasing new maps that everybody just gave up. They're like, well, dude, I can't spend a year with 3 maps. Like, come on. Like, you know what I mean? No season pass, no anything. I mean, they did have it eventually, but it was too little too late. And that's why it kind of dropped off. But I liked it. They had the formula, they just didn't do it right. I can't say which one is better or worse because everybody would say, oh, well, the original 3 are obviously the GOAT, this and that in that series. The other ones are just kind of like okay. But I found like redeeming qualities in all of them in a different way, except for 5, I think was just a letdown because we expected something. The first 5 minutes of that game was amazing with them jumping out of the ship and they're sliding down the mountain and all that other shit and whatever. And I'm like, this is awesome. And then you play the game and half the game you're not even playing as like the character that you wanted to play. Like I don't want to I had no problem with Commander Locke, but I bought Halo to play as Master Chief, and I wanted to do that, and I wanted to do the story, him and Cortana, and this and that. And meanwhile, I'm playing this dude who's just hunting him, and I'm like, that was a bit of a mistake. By the way, unrelated but somewhat related. Gears Judgment, actually, the story in Gears Judgment is actually one of the best stories in the entire series.
Really, I know
because the entire game is actually a court case. And all of the levels, you ready for this? All of the levels you play is an eyewitness recounting to the judge and to the jury what happened during when they're like, what happened on the day of whatever, May 18th. So
now you're playing that mode.
You know,
okay.
And then the guy says, well, it was 9 a.m. We were on the ridge. And all of a sudden then it fades out and then you're playing his memory. Oh. So the entire game is actually a court case. It was so interesting and so friggin' cool.
So what was the idea of it bashed about it? Like, what was
I don't know. I actually really enjoyed it.
Bashed a lot.
I loved it a lot more than 4 and 5.
It was getting thrashed. Oh wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's like Law and Order Gears Edition.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. It was really cool. But
that's funny.
Yeah, it was really wild. I mean, it's not worth going back now because now, unless they remaster it, You know how
I
it
know
is,
what you
like
mean. I know what you
clunkier
mean. So like some games,
controls.
like if you missed it, it's not worth playing it. You might as well wait for a remaster remake because modern
Yeah.
controls,
Exactly.
modern play styles, frame rates. You look at this game and you probably won't enjoy. That's why I don't go back to play old games. Like even the games I love, I don't go back because I don't want to ruin the memory of at that time. Like if I go back to an old game and I play it now, I know it's gonna not look good. It's not gonna age
What does
well
Mooch say?
and stuff
What
like
does
that.
Mooch say?
Hmm? What is
Nostalgia is a
this?
hell of a drug.
Yes, it is. I
Right?
don't want to
Because when you
ruin
go
that.
like,
You
oh,
know,
how about this? When you go watch, you have a movie from like the 80s and you're like, come here, kid. Well, never, no, I shouldn't say that because the 80s is like sacred. But let's pick, I don't know,
yeah.
whatever. Some movie from like way back when you're like, come on, kids, come check this out. This movie's amazing. Oh, we all love this. And you sit down and
And,
you're like,
and you're like,
it's like,
what the?
this wasn't as good as I remember. Yeah,
And
you're
you're
just
like,
like, oh my
yeah.
God,
Like
this is not
sometimes
as
the
good as I remember.
acting is different. Like the
Yeah.
jokes aren't really that funny. It's just different, right? Sometimes you just got some movies are timeless. Other
Yeah.
movies, leave it alone.
Some of them you're
Just
just like,
enjoy the memory.
yeah.
Right? We got a question for you. So Donnell
Yeah,
Brown,
what's up?
thank you for the super chat. He says, I have a question for Mag. D
Yeah,
was
what's up?
saying the new Xbox console is coming out next year for the 25th
No,
anniversary with the new Halo game.
no.
Um okay.
I could
I
say no
guess
to
he's
both.
asking if that's happening.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
The thing is, when they announced, when Sarah Bond did her little 1 minute 17 second. By the way, someone pointed out to me, they're like, "Do you think do you think it was on purpose that it was literally exactly 1 minute 17 seconds? Because 117 is
Yeah.
a tip of the hat
That's
to Master Chief."
that's
So I'm
yeah.
like, I wonder. That
John
like,
117.
yeah. I mean, you'd have to be like really high to see that shit. Like I'd have to be sitting there like, I'd be
Like,
like,
well, who
bro.
pays attention to the timestamps? Like,
I was like, 117, man. It's all a conspiracy, man. And I was just like, oh, like, holy shit, I never even noticed that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
she did her 117 talk, and there was no mention of production or anything. They just announced a partnership with AMD and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't know what that means. Well, obviously, I'm sure we're going to get into that conversation. But I don't think it's going to be that soon. I know everybody wants it to be that soon. Like, well, everybody who wants, is in that ecosystem. Like, oh, that would make the most sense. It would, but that doesn't necessarily translate into hardware production, R&D, shipping. You know what I mean? Like, all that stuff, right? It's there's a lot that goes into releasing hardware, whether it's cell phones, whether it's consoles, whether it's whatever, right? So a lot goes into all that, and that requires a distribution. That's another one. People talking about tariffs. Is that going to affect things? Whatever. So they were stockpiling a lot of their old products. Nobody knows. But I make a solid estimated guess, and even from the people I've talked about, that have made no indication that it's coming next year. Neither is a Halo game. That's not coming in 2026 at all. Not a chance. Now, the only thing that could come, might be the remake, remaster, whatever, Halo. Not a new mainline game. It's way too soon for that. Because, I mean, these productions take anywhere between 4 and 6 years for a AAA game these days, sometimes more depending on the studio. Also, let's not forget, active development is a lot different than in development, right? So, for example, when someone says, I don't know, Naughty Dog took 7 years to do this. Well, actually, they didn't. A lot of times, active development only takes about 3 years. A lot of it is pre-production. You got to do the visual. What the hell is it called? The previs, right? They do the pre-visuals and everything else. They do the storyboarding. Then they have to do the comic. I call it the comic thing. What they do is that they animate it. They have to pitch it. They have to get the funding for it. Like a lot of that stuff happens behind the scenes. The writing of the scripts. That happens behind the scenes for years. Grand Theft Auto 6, for example. Grand Theft Auto 6 was not in active development for 13 years. It was only in development for 4. The rest of that time, they were living high off the hog of GTA Online. And then they started doing previs work in 2019. So, in fact, they've only been working on it what you would consider a normal... Oh, sorry. And they also released Red Dead Redemption 2. That took a lot of their main team off. So their active development was actually only about 5 years, which is standard. So anyways, you will not get a new Halo game. Sorry to answer so long of a question, but no, I don't think the console's coming out next year. However, I did have a conspiracy theory about the PlayStation 6. I remember that there was the interview last week. I released it in one of my videos where I was talking about the Xbox hardware and the PlayStation hardware. The PlayStation made a little blurb about it. They're saying, quote, and I have the quote here, "It's coming sooner than expected." I don't know what that means. Does that mean 2026? Seems a little bit early considering they just released the Pro.
Yeah.
But do you want to get the jump on the other guys before they release their hardware in 27, let's say? Because myself and Colt had also heard that 2027 fall of would be the release of new Xbox hardware. It didn't say next gen. It might be new Xbox hardware, whatever that is. We did both hear that, amongst other people, the same thing. And that's when they were talking about the in-house canceled handheld that I was discussing as well. Now, this is the in-house one, guys. I had a lot of people come after me after the Xbox showcase going, man, you fucking fraud. You see them? And I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, if you watched my video at the 2-minute, 46-second mark, I literally said the third-party handheld is still coming. The in-house being made handheld console is canceled. But that was slated for fall of 2027. So that would lead us to believe that hardware, that under the TV hardware, is still coming out the same year. So I think next year is too soon.
Okay, so let's jump on that topic.
But PlayStation, you never know.
Okay, Donnell Brown. And to make you feel welcome, he says, and to make you feel welcome here, the Bills suck. Listen, he's a sports guy, so he talks shit about everything. And but here's the thing: he's a Clippers fan, so I don't know why he talks like that. That's what I'm saying. The audacity of Donnell being a Clippers fan.
I'll be back in 2 seconds. You keep talking. I'll be back in 1 second.
What did you do, Donnell? Donnell, what did you? He's gonna put on his Bills jersey. What did you do? All right. Shout out to the chat. Hey, if you enjoyed the show so far, please hit the like button and share this out on your favorite social media platform. Here we go. What he got? Where he got? Okay. And there we go. Boom. Bills Mafia. It is done. That's it.
Mafia right here, boy. So now I'm Italian. I'm in 2 mafias now.
That's it. Representing New York.
I live only an hour and a half from Buffalo, so it's not far.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's get into the hardware, the PlayStation and the Xbox side. We'll first start with the Xbox side. What are your thoughts with the conversation, right, of what Microsoft's talking about? Sarah Bond made a statement on, her vision. She gave that 1-minute video, her vision going forward. Then Lisa Su made comments about AMD and how they're going to be part of it. What do you see is Microsoft's strategy? And then also with them canceling their internal handheld, and now the Asus ROG is the Xbox handheld, right? What do you see is Microsoft's strategy in terms of hardware and how, pretty much their hardware strategy going forward in terms of Xbox, right? Do you see it as they're still in the console business, so they're still going to have, their own dedicated console with Xbox, pretty much like the Series S, the 360, pretty much that same model or whatever? Or do you see them actually going to third party and be like, hey, produce pre-built consoles, pretty much PCs, but in a modular form, and we'll handle the software, which is going to be Windows, all right? And we're going to sell that. What do you think? Do you think they're still going to stuck with the traditional console model? Or do you think they're just going to move on and get console gamers to embrace PC gaming in a certain way? Like, what do you think is their strategy of what they're trying to handle going forward?
The funniest thing is you asked the same question that Colt asked me on Monday, almost word for word. And I will give you the same answer now that I gave him then, because I think that this is it. As for who's making the hardware, I still don't have any idea. And I talked to the guys who sit in the big boy chairs upstairs, and they haven't told me squat about it. And I mean, I don't push them. I don't push these guys because I'm not talking to them for that reason. But a lot of the information I get, like some of these guys, they spill beans like drunken sailors. So I find out a lot of stuff. And that's why I've always said, guys, I'm not an insider. I've never claimed to be an insider. I just drink and know things, Game of Thrones. Anyways, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's the way it is. So as for who's making the hardware, I do not know. Either way, it was not confirmed in that video. They just said we're doing a partnership, this and that for hardware. It's angled in that direction, but my thought is that they're not making a dedicated Xbox console. It is going to be a Windows run basically PC box or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason why I said this, and I said the same thing to Colt, in case anybody has, wants to say that, oh, he says one thing on one show and one thing on the other. No, I said the same thing there.
Astro Cyborg's on you, bro. Go ahead.
Well, it's not him, not just
different.
him.
He got your ass.
Not just him. Yeah, I know.
He's like, I got your ass.
Yeah, like that guy
on Twitter. He already has it on Twitter. It's already on there right now. The show's not even over, and he already clipped it.
Yep. He's right there with the camera. Got your ass.
Got your ass.
Yeah. So, no. What I think it is, and this is something, and Colt gave me a very big head nod for that in agreement. And I'm saying what they would probably do would be a Windows 11, because she did talk about Windows 11 being the operating system that they're concentrating on. They have multiple teams dedicated to making that system better, the Windows system better, so that the operating system is better. Why? Well, this makes ultimate sense for them. You do that so you do not have to develop three different ways for a game. You're going to develop it for PC and this box, right? Which will be your under the TV. It's going to look like a console. Okay, it's still going to look like a console. It's going to still say Xbox on it, whatever else, but it's going to be run by Windows. So every game that you're playing is going to be the PC version of the game, right? So you only have to develop it once. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting resources by developing it for Windows, for Xbox, and PlayStation. But now, if you do this, you're only going to develop for Windows, which is PC. The box is going to be a PC of sorts. This is just my speculation. And PlayStation. So now you're only doing 2 developments, not 3, right? And you're not splitting it up. A lot of those games are not going to Switch 2. There are smaller titles and some other ones that will go to Switch 2, but they are going to be very picky, choosy as to which ones go over there. Not everything is going to Switch 2. So that's what I think is going to happen. So that now Microsoft only has to develop twice. One for Windows, one for PlayStation, and that's it. Keep it simple. Keep it all one ecosystem. As for the backwards compatibility and all the games that you own and everything else, you will be able to play all of those games, but they will be the PC versions of those games. And I don't think anybody's going to notice. What the hell is the difference? I mean, I look at one game, I load it up here, and then I load up the same game on a PC. It's going to be the same. It's all dependent on your television and what your television can handle or whatever else, and what this box can handle. So that's my speculation that that's what they're going to do. Like I said, for this particular topic, I do not have any more info on it because no one has actually told me anything more than what I've already talked about. So that's what I think is going to happen. I mean, it makes sense to me, right?
So
I mean, might as well make it like a, you know what I mean? So, like I said, you're developing once, not twice. So because now you're just wasting resources and people.
Amazingly, you're like one of the first Xbox guys that has the same thought process that I have, right? And I try to explain it to people, right? And people, like, you know how sometimes you talk, people just think, oh, you're just fanboying, but they're not really listening what you're trying to say. Like, they're not hearing you. They're they're automatically going to shun your thoughts off, right? And pretty much what you're saying is also what I'm trying to say is my prediction as well, right? We both like, and this all stems from the common core problem Microsoft has. If there's one thing that Microsoft has issues with their gaming business, it is their dedicated console. That's out of all the things that they got going on, that's the problem they have. They're making a console that the world's not really buying enough of, right? And they're still losing money selling each console. So that's the heart of the problem. So that's the first thing they have to solve to really get Xbox out there growing and eliminate the issues, because that's business 101. If you have a certain segment in your business that's a problem, you got to get rid of it. You can't just keep going and let it impact your finances, your money. You got to find a way to replace it with a better strategy. So the first thought I'm thinking, right, so what Microsoft's going to do, right, is they're not going to create no more Xbox-centric OSs, even a stripped-down version, so that way you have to make an Xbox version and then the PC Windows version. And just like you said, that's done.
Right.
It's just one version, Windows.
Yes.
Okay? So now, with that strategy, they'll be like, okay, cool. That's the first step. Now we only have one OS. So now they don't have to hear rumors of, well, this no-name developer, there's a rumor the developer is wondering why they got to make games for Xbox. That's done. They don't have to ever worry about a developer ever saying they're not going to make games for Xbox gamers because it's Windows. You're going to make the game anyway because it's PC. Every developer loves making games for PC. So, boom. That's one worry Microsoft. Microsoft never has to worry about a game skipping Xbox. They don't have to worry about a Baldur's Gate 3 scenario. They don't have to worry about a Black Myth Wukong scenario. They don't have to worry about that no more. That's dead. They're gonna make the game for PC. That means Microsoft and their audience will always have that game. That's no longer an issue for them. But number two, the hardware build. Microsoft loses money on their hardware, and for whatever, and this is what's weird, they never were able to get the console profitable throughout the years like Sony does, right? They all initially sell the consoles for a loss. They all do that, except for Nintendo, because Nintendo releases weak hardware. They're not into that. But Microsoft with their Xbox brand and PlayStation, Sony with their PlayStation brand, they always try to push the best technology, but that costs money. But they sell it at a loss in the beginning. Sony eventually gets their consoles profitable through revisions, right? And re-releases, right? Of their console. Microsoft was never able to do that. So they literally spend the entire gen selling consoles at a loss for the whole gen, right? And then on top of that, it doesn't sell as much as back in the 360 days. So they have two problems. They're making consoles that don't really sell. And when it does sell a little bit, they're losing money on it. So now they're like, you know what? Let's us get away from building these hardware and let's go to the companies that actually, that is their business. Let's go to Asus. Let's go to Acer. Let's go to Dell, right? Let's get them to build the hardware. Let them build these compact modular PCs, but give it that console aesthetic, right? Even Asus has one. It's called the Nook. It's a little small, compact, modular, small PC with a 4060, 4070 GPU in it. It's small, it's modular, it's tiny. Boom. Windows, Microsoft goes, will update Windows to have a console UI feature. So when you boot in, like, so we'll install it onto these pre-built PCs, but when the console gamer or whoever buys these devices boot up the PC, it's going to boot into console mode. It's going to boot into console mode, okay? So when they do that, to the customer, it's no different. You got the UI, everything, the whole layout is no different than if they were on their Series X. The difference is that hardware is made by Dell, it's made by Asus, it's made by Acer. They're the ones paying the money to build these products. All Microsoft is doing is says, hey, if you want this Xbox branding, you got to follow these parameters with a deal that we made with AMD. So let's say if you're Dell and you want this Xbox branding, you can't build one with Intel and NVIDIA. You can't get that branding. You have to use whatever Microsoft is co-signing, meaning the CPUs and the GPUs from AMD. You minimum CPU is this, minimum GPU is this. You got to have this. Anything above that, you're fine. But if you want us to put our name, Xbox, on your device and call it an Xbox branded device, you got to have no less than this CPU from AMD, no less than just GPU from AMD, and you got to have a minimum of, let's say, 12 12 gigs of video RAM, something like that, or higher. So now Dell's like, you know what? We agreed to those terms. Hey, AMD, we want to order, $500,000 CPUs and GPUs of this model, whatever. We're gonna build together. We're gonna put together our own Xbox. This is the Dell Xbox. They designed their own case, power supply, whatever. Boom. Slap the word Xbox, here you go. This is an Xbox. Asus comes in. Hey, we want to do that too, but we want to make a laptop. Boom, a nice laptop has the word Xbox on it. Acer comes in. Asus, all these third-party manufacturers whose business is hardware, they're the ones building all this stuff. They agree to the specifications that Microsoft says, and boom, you got a whole entire industry of hardware manufacturers releasing Xbox-branded gaming devices built on the Windows that Microsoft updated to have this console UI and whatever. And I think the big important part is, I think they're working on emulation or some type of software, and that's how they're going to get legacy Xbox games to run on Windows through these emulation stuff. The only problem is, I don't think they're going to be able to do that with every game. Their own first party, yeah. But third party, there's licensing issues. Like Rockstar. Rockstar might be like, nah, son, you're not going to emulate Red Dead Redemption 2, the PC, so it could run on PC. Those gamers are going to have to buy the PC version if they want to play on PC. So I think that's the biggest hurdle is the licensing agreements with third parties. Some third parties don't, you know how it is. Some third parties don't like Play Anywhere. They didn't co-sign to that. So most games are not Play Anywhere. Like you can't buy a game on Xbox and then play it on PC. A lot of third parties like, nope, we're not Play Anywhere. If you want the PC version, you got to buy it, That's the biggest hurdle. So I think there's going to be some losses that, from this plan. Some games will translate. Other games, they just can't do it because they're not going to get the licensing agreements for third party. I think some third parties not going to agree to that. But for the most part, overall, I think it's the overall better strategy. Microsoft doesn't have to worry about creating hardware that they lose money on. They put it in the hands of third party that does it better. Microsoft updates the Windows OS to have console mode. The only setback for console gamers who haven't embraced PC is it's going to be more expensive because these hardware is not going to be sold at a loss. They're going to be sold for profit. So you know how they're used to buying $500 or $600 consoles at a loss? Prepare to pay $900, $1,000, $1,100 for these devices because they're pre-built PCs. In the end, you're not going to get a $500 system or $500, $600 system anymore. Not with this strategy.
I have a question for you because you're obviously more. I think you would have a better conversation with Colt Eastwood in terms of the hardware stuff because you are very well versed in hardware. I am not. Colt is also very in tune with hardware stuff, so I think you guys would have a fantastic conversation about like what you guys think is going to happen in this generation. But I have to throw a curveball, and I think I just poked a hole in my own theory while you were talking, and I'm like, oh shit. I just realized something. I think I just made a mistake, or just I want your opinion on this. As we see with this generation, with both the PlayStation and the Xbox One and the PS4 are still active 5 years into the generation. You're still going to be playing the new Call of Duty, for example, on the PS4 and on the Xbox One. If they decide to go down this Windows road here, what happens to the series consoles that are dedicated hardware, which are not compatible with Windows? Do they go back and retroactively, do an update on those consoles that would run a Windows 11 system on those old hardware so that you could carry them in 3-4 years into the next generation, like we've been doing now? What happens there?
Oh, I got that. I got the answer.
Because they're not going to cut that off. They're not going to cut off a Series S and X and say, fuck, go to hell.
There. Yeah, the answer's already there. So for the first party side, it's fine because over the last 2-3 years, Microsoft has been making their games play anywhere. So the Series X version you forgot.
Okay, right.
It's the third party that hasn't prescribed to that. So if let's say you bought a Series X console now and you buy third party games, some of those games is not going to translate to this new way forward because the third party is not going to agree that a game you bought on Series X will work on PC. They're like, no, we don't prescribe to play anywhere. So you have to buy. I mean, the game will be on PC. It's going to exist because they port it, but you won't have a right to it. You have to buy the PC version. So it won't translate as a backwards compatible title. That's why I said there's going to be some negative impacts to this decision. But overall,
what if you already bought it?
Like if you bought us, let's say, for example, Assassin's Creed, that's not a play anywhere title. It's brand new. You're not going to get that on your new Xbox on PC. It's not one of those titles. You're not going to be able to play it because it's not a play anywhere title.
I have another question for you. Like I said, once again, folks, Puertorock is way more well versed into all this stuff than I am because I've listened to his videos and stuff, and my eyeballs literally go cross-eyed, and I'm like, I don't even know what he's talking about because I'm trying to follow along, but I'm not a tech guy. I'm just a game guy, right? So, anyways, the thing is, my next question is, I've heard also that Play Anywhere has, I think, like something like 1,000 titles, but I don't think Microsoft has 1,000 titles. So would that 1,000 titles also include some third party in there, or is that strictly in-house?
No. So Play Anywhere is anyone who agrees with Microsoft that the Xbox console version, they'll automatically translate into the PC version on the Windows Store.
All right.
That's what Play Anywhere means. And it's specifically Windows gaming. You buy the Xbox version in the Xbox Store, you automatically have the rights to the PC Windows version, or vice versa. You buy the PC Windows version, you could boot up your console and you purchase the Xbox version. But again, Microsoft's own first party and the titles they own, that's automatic for them, what they're doing going forward and what they've been doing for over the last 2, 3, 4 years, whatever. It's the third party. Not all third party agree to those terms. Not all third party says if you buy the game on the Xbox Store, you could download the Windows version. Some of them like, no. If you go to the Windows Store, you still gotta buy it. So that's a third party thing, right? So Play Anywhere is not 100% all your games and Microsoft got to be careful with their terms because I think when Microsoft says Play Anywhere, play all your games anywhere, I think they're talking about their games because their games could be Play Anywhere, right? But Once they adopt this PC model, right, with Windows, technically it is Play Anywhere because no matter what device you're using, it's Windows. Whether it's the Asus ROG Ally, whether it's these new consoles under your TV, the laptop, or the PC, it's the same OS. Windows. Nothing's different. So you're just playing PC gaming just on a different device. And the reason why I'm so confident that they're going to do this strategy is because technically they already did it. And we just didn't notice because it's one area we don't give a shit about, and that's tablets. Nobody really cares about Windows tablets. But if you pay attention to what they did, they didn't create a specific Windows for tablets. They didn't create a tablet OS. They just updated Windows with tablet functionality, right? And I didn't notice this until my laptop. I have a Nitro 5 Acer laptop, right? It's just a laptop. It doesn't have touchscreen, normal gaming laptop. One day it got booted into tablet mode. I turned it on and like it looks all weird. I'm like, man, why does my screen look like a tablet? And I'm trying to like work it and it's like all screwed up. So I had to turn it off, boot it into safe mode, and boot it back into its normal desktop mode. The Windows you and I have right now in your PC, tablet modes is in there. All they do is when Dell says, hey, we're going to make Windows tablets or the Surface, they just load up the same Windows we have on our desktops and laptops, but they just boot it into tablet mode. They didn't create a new OS or a tablet-specific OS. It's Windows. So when they update this Windows again with console, it doesn't matter if you're playing on a PC, whether you build it yourself or you buy a pre-built. It doesn't matter if you buy these console-branded devices. It doesn't matter if you play on your laptop, or it doesn't matter if you play on the ROG Ally X, MSI Claw, or the Lenovo Even Go. If it has Windows, all your games is going to work because they adopted one OS environment for all those devices. So in that sense, it's going to be Play Anywhere because if you make a game for PC, it's going to work everywhere. The only exception is the hardware where it's not certified because let's say Grand Theft Auto 6 might not run well on a ROG Ally X. It's not powerful enough. That might be the only scenario. But that's a hardware limitation, not an OS limitation. That's it. Right. Once they adopt this one OS, it's the One Ring. It's Lord of the Rings. One ring to rule them all.
So that's a fairly, from a corporation standpoint of view, that's a fairly financially prudent thing to do. Then I see that's a smart move. I can't argue that. On that level, they said, okay, that's pretty smart.
Here's the crazy part. Once they implement this, they already have the customers. They don't have to sell a damn thing to anybody because you have a gaming PC, right?
No, not me. No, I'm console only, brother.
You are the man, bro. That's what I'm talking about, team console. But let's see if you did. Or Cole has a PC, right? He clearly has a PC.
Yeah, Cole
he doesn't have to buy a damn thing. He doesn't even have to buy an AMD. He doesn't have to buy AMD parts, nothing. He just needs to sit and wait because Microsoft will push the update to his Windows 11 and boom, he has the console UI feature on the PC he already owns now. So every PC gamer right now will get this update. So Microsoft already has the console audience. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's a win. They already got the audience. They just pushed the update and now boom, won.
Well, that's one way of keeping. What did we talk about an hour and a half ago? What's the most important thing for all these companies to do? Which a lot of people miss. Like when I was talking about like PlayStation and Nintendo, and when people say, "Oh, well, they just sold 92 million pieces of plastic." No, they didn't. They sold 184 million eyeballs on your store.
Exactly.
Okay? That's what they did. And so by doing this, the existing customers on the Microsoft side of things are staying there because you saying, like from their point of view, they're like, guys, don't move, just stay there. Hold on one second. They're like, all right, you're good.
Just
they're like, you're good. Stay there. They're like, stay there. You're good. So your customer retention is high. Well, then that's fantastic for them. That's great. That's a smart move. There's nothing really you can say negative about it. But here's the thing, and this is something that I'm going to say from my point of view, because like I said, I'm not the tech guy. You were the tech guy. That was very eye-opening what you had just told, what you said over the last 10 minutes. When it comes down to all this in the end, and this is something I talked about on every show I do, it doesn't matter where it is, what it is, how you play it, what console it is, what ecosystem it is. If the software doesn't back up all these plans, you don't have anything at all. So you have to be able to back it up with quality software. Otherwise, people are not going to go to just because you built a great movie theater doesn't mean people are going to go inside because the movies are shit, right? So you have to make sure the software is good. And what I've seen, so like this year has been a great year for them. It's been a lot better than some of the other previous years. Looks like next year is going to be even better. You're going to have an E-Day in there, a Fable, and again, that's also going to PlayStation. So everybody's going to get to enjoy those games. Wonderful, right? I'm not an Outer Worlds fan. Call of Duty, I love, that kind of stuff too. So if you back it up with solid software, you're not only going to retain the people that are there, you're going to get new people that have much easier access. You know what I'm saying? Much easier access to that ecosystem. So that, like I said, that's a smart move. It's a smart move. I got nothing negative to say about that.
All right, I'll be right back real quick. Hold on. My wife's asking
I'll talk to the chat while you're gone.
Happened?
How's everybody doing out there? What's going on? Who we got? Eastern Conference Gaming. What's up, buddy? See, Solo Gears, when you're saying what you're saying, Windows is trash. I think they know, and I mean, it's fairly commonly known that it doesn't run as well, and I think that's why they pulled teams and dedicated them towards improving Windows, because they obviously know that the Windows has not been the success they wanted it to be. Not in terms of numbers and the dollars and the billions they're making. I'm talking about in terms of the OS system itself, right? So, El Nini, what's up, buddy? Yeah, Eastern Gaming Conference. What's good, man? Helicus, Meg, great to see you here. Yeah, man. Listen, there's something I was talking about last night. I don't even know how to say your name. Should I say Sprix88? Sprix88 sounds about right. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. We got Kay in the chat saying, how you doing, Meg? Listen, I talked about it on my live stream last night on my channel, and I said, some people are like, oh, why are you talking to this guy? Or why are you friends with that guy? Or why do you listen to this guy? And I'm like, I don't understand that. Like, I mean, when I listen to somebody, like, for example, I'm on a show with Colt Eastwood, right? One of the biggest Xbox guys out there. We're really good friends. We talk on the phone all the time, everything else. But, like Reforge Gaming, they're like, why do you even listen to that guy, Reforge Gaming, whatever? I'm like, because he's a friend too. You know what I mean? Or Mooch, or Randall Thor, or Jez Corden, or the other Jez on the Great Gaming Grindhouse. I listen to everybody, and the reason why, and of course Puertorock right here, and the reason why we do all this is that at the end of the day,
I'm back. If
I'm sitting on the couch and you and I are watching sports together, right? And I said this to Puertorock at the beginning of the show. Solo Gears. That's funny. What I was saying earlier, I said, let's say he's a Yankees fan and I'm a Jays fan, right? And am I going to stop talking to him because he likes the Yankees? No. Or is he going to stop talking to me because I like the Blue Jays or whatever? I'm a little bit more middle of the road when it comes to that stuff. I'm like, because I view myself, and this is how you all should do the same thing too. Everybody has a preference, obviously. Nobody watches the NBA and says, I like all the teams equally. You are completely full of shit. Everybody has a very specific preference, and that's fine. But when it comes to that, I think that outside of like some fun that you can have with that, like let's say you go to a Clippers game, okay? And you can have somebody else in the crowd going, you guys suck or this and that. You have some fun with it. That's fine. But when people take it too seriously, it gets a little ridiculous. You know what I mean? I'm like, guys, you don't have to threaten. Like, I got death threats last year. This is a real story, by the way. Oh, Puertorock's back. Do you know I got death threats last year for saying the Project Latitude was happening? Because I was one of the first. And the reason why I heard about it in 2024, 2023, if you can believe it, I heard about Project Latitude. And I was getting death threats. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here. I'm just telling you what's about to happen. I mean, you don't have to believe me, but you could say, oh, Mag, you're full of shit. Okay, that's fine. You could say I'm full of shit or whatever. Or you can call me all the names you want. There's no problem. But to go to that extreme is just so insane to me, where I'm just like, oh, my God. Like, if I'm a Bills fan, like someone's going to say, oh, I hope you die? Like, is that? Like, how insane you gotta be if you're a Bengals fan? And I'll be like, okay, you're a Bengals fan, I'm a Bills fan, cool. Good luck in the game, have some fun. But at the end of the day, guys, this is our hobby. This is something that we should do for fun. I buy these consoles. I don't buy PC. I have a PC to do my shows and stuff like that. But like, I game on consoles and I do it to have fun. It doesn't matter where. And you know what the funny thing is? A lot of the guys that follow my channel are Xbox guys. And guess what? Next Thursday, I'll be streaming Death Stranding 2 on my channel, and they're all excited to watch it. They're like, oh, man, I can't wait to see you play that. That's what a gamer should be. right? I'm not
Brother,
saying
man.
kumbaya for everybody. Obviously, they're always going to fight with somebody, but at the end of the day, they're excited to see me play a game. And they're like, "Oh, I want to check that out. I can't wait to watch you stream that." Or when I do Gears, I'm going to be doing Gears. I'm going to be doing community Gears nights, this and that, on both PlayStation and Xbox. We're just there to play the game, not argue about who's better and who's not better. It's silly. And I think when I turn 50 years old, I don't have any fight in me anymore because I just don't. There's no point to it. You know what I'm saying? We should all just be having some fun. Anyway, that's it. That's my speech. We were talking. I was answering some questions in the chat. They were talking about all that kind of stuff, and like I used to make those Pony Master 420 videos. They're funny. I used to dress up as Jim Ryan with the wig and all that kind of stuff. And I've had some laughs and whatever else.
But that's comedy.
You're muted.
No, am I muted? No.
Yeah, you're muted there, brother.
How?
And I mean, I had some fun with that, but like people took it too far. And I swear to God, that's the reason why I stopped doing those videos. A lot of people don't know that that's the reason why I stopped doing those videos.
Testing.
A lot of people had fun with them. They were laughing at them. I dressed up as the pony. There was one where I actually almost got banned from YouTube because I dressed up as a pony and I literally was well, not literally, but I was simulating having sex with a PS5, and I got thrown off of Twitter for a couple days for that. So you know what I mean? So it was kind of crazy. But either way, I stopped doing those because people were taken too seriously, and I'm like, guys, this is not fun anymore. When people are taking it too seriously, we're just supposed to have a couple laughs, bro. It's showing that you're muted on my side.
Right. Test.
Like I actually see like the microphone with the cross through it on my screen.
Testing.
There you go.
Testing. All right, there we go. All right. I was like, what the hell is going on? But that's Windows for you. But yeah, brother. I think you see probably some comments in the chat. There was maybe this was about 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago. Dude made a video holding a gun, threatening me. Like literally.
What is happening?
There's people live on a podcast pulling out pistols. That happened.
Well, I mean, you can't shoot me through a camera, so I wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying. I don't get it. I don't like. What are you gonna do? Like, what are we doing here? So yeah, but but it's funny, right? Around the time in 2023 when Tim Stewart had that Wells Fargo summit. Right, and this was November 2023, and that got leaked out. That spread across the community. I actually showed the summit. Right, because it was recorded and it was free. All you had to do was just add your email, and you got access to the summit. Downloaded the video. I actually put it on my channel. Like I actually played that portion where he talked about Xbox, and I talked about it, and I said, listen to the words. Games, they no longer look at PlayStation and Nintendo as competitors. So they have a new strategy and they're going to put games on PlayStation. Like it's happening. This is the official statement. Boy, everybody's telling me, Puertorock, you're a stupid fuck. You don't know how to speak English. You're an asshole. Like now all of a sudden, I don't understand basic English language. He's talking about ABK and Call of Duty. You're an idiot. That's November 2023. February 2024, 4 games get announced for PlayStation. I'm like he told you. And keep in mind, he's talking to investors. He's not talking to IGN. So Tim Stewart's being serious. He's talking to investors, so he's telling the truth. And I'm like, how is everybody didn't understand what he was saying, right? So then the first 4 comes out. I'm like, hey, listen, this is the whole slate. They're not gonna pick and choose what games to release on PlayStation for the sake of competition and exclusivity, because then that doesn't make sense. If your strategy is exclusives to compete with PlayStation, you're not going to put any games on the console. It doesn't make sense that you put some games on PlayStation, but you keep games away from PlayStation because you want to compete with them. That's a half-ass strategy. That strategy doesn't even make sense. And then it came to, well, it's going to be every game but Halo, Gears, and Forza. I'm like, all right. So you're telling me every single game Microsoft makes is going to go to PlayStation, earning more money, getting more people, but they're going to keep their 3 core franchises away from PlayStation because of reasons. Like, come on. Y'all guys got to stop this nonsense. It's done. Microsoft went with this full third-party strategy. They're embracing other devices. They want their games everywhere because they have too many of them, and then they have a lot of developers. They have a shit ton of developers. They pretty much became the biggest publisher of games in the industry the moment they bought Bethesda and Activision. And then on top of the other studios they bought on the side back in 2019, combined, I think they have the most developers in the industry in gaming. The only other company that might have more is maybe Tencent. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Tencent
But
is
some
careful.
of the biggest, yeah, and Tencent's primarily phone gaming. Yeah, and they're primarily a lot of mobile gaming. But to me, I think Microsoft is the biggest AAA publishing studio.
Yes,
I think
they
they
are.
have more. They have more AAA developers than I think any other publisher out there.
Do you know
They
why
have a lot.
Tencent only buys portions, by the way? Do you want to know the interesting little political fact? The reason why they buy portions of studios, right? The 5% here, 4% there, 8% here, 6% there of all these different studios. They got their fingers in all these pies making billions of dollars. But by not directly owning the company, the Chinese government can't touch them. And that's why. Sorry, there's a little fun fact for everybody.
Wow.
And the reason why they do that,
so
the
they
Chinese
can't take
fly under the
Chinese
radar.
they can't completely because China has like rules, like Chinese owned companies, they're able to take it over, or like companies have to do whatever they tell them if they say something. But if they only partially own the company,
That's why they only buy
dictate those terms.
percentages. So essentially, they're like one of those, like those stealth bombers that fly just under the radar. That's exactly what Tencent has been doing for forever. And the reason why they do that is to keep the government, Chinese government specifically, off their back. So it's a bit of a loophole that they stay out of it, and that's why they buy 4%, 5%, 8%, whatever. Just like I said, they're basically sort of ninjaing their way through the gaming industry, and they, like I said, they have their fingers in almost every single pie as a result of that. So that's a little fun fact for everybody.
So they get enough in there to be part of it, but not enough for China to dictate terms.
Bingo.
Smart.
Isn't that interesting?
Whoever thought of that, that's a smart move. Whoever's the CEO that thought of that, he knew. He's like, wait a minute. We can't control 100% because then technically we have to abide by these rules. But if we own a good portion, we can still influence, make money, make profit. But China can't dictate terms because other people own it. So they can't. Interesting. That's good. Thank you for that one. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's something I found out through my corporate people. They're like, oh yeah, do you know why they do this? And I'm like, no, I had no idea. And then that is exactly why. So it keeps the government off their back. It also keeps their taxes down too, because then at the end, first of all, there's going to be the government interference of the project because I'm not going to say because of a communist government. It's just the way that their government is run. But they're also very
strict on content and
well.
Yeah.
Because then they have to pay percentages to the Chinese government. And they're like, well, we're not going to pay percentages to the Chinese government. They pay the taxes, but they're not going to pay beyond that and say, well, because we own this company, now the government owns a portion of this company. And then, yes, you're absolutely right. Then there's interference. So it's very interesting. Yeah, Tencent is sneaky. I'm going to call you ECG there, Eastern Conference Gaming. You're not wrong. That's what these guys do, man. What's up, Steelofax? What's up, brother?
All right. Let me do some super chats. Flaffy 1101. Y'all listen to El Batch at Mooch's podcast. I didn't get to see.
I did not listen to the podcast yet.
I didn't get to the recent one. So I guess D Batch probably made some comments. I know on Twitter, me and him talked. He's still saying they're gonna make traditional customized console, and I'm like, all right, you know what? We'll see how it turns. I mean, at the bet, all we can do is agree to disagree and just see ultimately how it turns out. You know what I'm saying? But
and like I said, I have no knowledge as to exactly what they're doing. I'm in the same. I'm in a holding pattern. It's just I don't know either.
Game, right? Yeah, we're just guessing at this time. Yeah. At the end of the day, is when it does come out, we'll know exactly. When it happens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Boba Country. Oh, really? What blockbuster have they released in the past decade? I'll wait. PC gaming is always the lowest common denominator. Hold back game design. Oh, I don't know about that one. I think PC doesn't have a first party, right? So they pretty much get what everyone else gets, right? Now, there are developers that do exclusives for PC because they only make games for PC, but I think that's a lot of indie titles, right? PC has a huge culture of indies and VRs. They do have some big exclusives, but I don't think they interest console games like World of Warcraft and all this stuff, Escape from Tarkov, but that's just more PC-centric gamers, right? But I think in this dynamic that Microsoft is going with, it's just one environment going forward, blurring the lines of console and PC gaming, and really it's just PC gaming. But they're trying. In other words, the way I see it is the biggest hurdle that Microsoft has to overcome is trying to convince you that this is a good way for you. Because like you just said, you don't have a PC gaming thing. You are a console
I
gamer.
do not know. I'm
So
console
now
only.
it's trying to, so now it's trying to make PC gaming good for you. So that way you're not missing what you like about console gaming, giving you the UI. So when you boot it up and it's on your big screen, it's a console centric UI. It's easy. You're pretty much not noticing a difference, right? It's normal to you. But I think where it's
Right.
going to change for you or for us really, or for any Xbox centric console gamer is the price. You're not going to get these subsidized consoles no more because Dell don't subsidize consoles. Asus,
Well,
Acer, they have to sell it for profit.
Yeah. Well, they got
So
that
day
model from
one-
Apple.
Yeah.
Like Apple runs that, like Apple does it, and they also base their hardware, by the way, outside of their phones. Any other hardware that Apple sells, they sell based on demand. So what they do is that they actually do a projection at first, and then what ends up happening, and I know I've spoken to a couple of guys that are like, actually, you know, Mag is right. I've ordered this, and this, and it takes sometimes like outside of like a mainstream item, like I said, like a phone, like an iPhone. That's like I have to wait 2 weeks for that product, and a lot of it is because they do it based on demand and they don't do it at a loss. And as a result of that, it's a win-win for them, for Apple, because then like, well, we lost no money on it. And if it's something that didn't take off, like for example, their $3,000 VR headset, right? And it's like, well, they didn't lose a dime on it. They didn't sell a lot of it, but it didn't take off the way they wanted because the price tag was too high. But in the end, when they just said, well, you know what, forget it, we'll just move on to something else, they didn't lose a penny, right? So it was an experiment that
produce a whole lot. They kept
it was a failed experiment, but not a financial failure, right?
Yeah.
So this is, and the Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, they all looked at that model and said, well, that's the way to go. So if it takes off, yay for us. If it doesn't take off, oh, well, we didn't lose any money. So it's a win-win. Right? So that's the way they look at it. And I can see them doing the same thing. That's going to go for a lot of people. Look at what's happening in this generation. This is an unprecedented generation that 5 years in, outside of that sale that Sony just had, the summer, what was it called? Days of Play or whatever sale for the consoles. It is 5 years, 5.5 years into the generation for both consoles, and neither one of them have dropped the price. In fact, they've raised the price, right? At least on the Microsoft side. And PlayStation
insane.
has...
Well,
they got
PlayStation,
their prices.
Like
did they raise
parts of the world, they raised. In other parts of the world, yes.
Shit.
Like Europe, some areas in the
they probably
Asian
did in
markets,
Canada, but I didn't notice because I already have them, right? So I don't look at the price, but I remember reading the Microsoft one because they put the statement out there. So I was like, okay, I remember that. So PlayStation raised it too. There you go. This is an unprecedented time. 5.5 years into a generation, and they're raising the prices. This is wild.
Dropping. That never happens. Usually
wild.
they drop price. Like by now,
you know
the consoles would be $300 by now.
You know what
like the
doing?
high end ones would be $300. You know what I'm saying? But
doing?
now things are the components are still expensive. Like everything's just. But what's strange is it's still selling. That's what's even strange. I'm like.
Because they're tempering you financially for what's coming next. Because if you drop the price to $299 and then the next one comes out at $799,
that's
the
a big
sticker
difference.
shock is going to freak people out. So if you keep it at $600, $699 for the Pro, for example, that's the more. And then I think Xbox has that 2 terabyte Series X that's like $740 or $730, whatever it is.
Like what?
So now hear me out though. This is all about optics. This is all about optics. So now if you look at that, you say, okay, $730 for that 2 terabyte Series X and $700 for the Pro. When they release a PS6 and an Xbox, whatever they're going to call it, at $800, you're like, oh, that's only $70 more. But if you see $299 versus $800, you're going to go, whoa! It's all up here, baby. This is all
now, let me
psychology.
ask you this. Let me ask you this. Using that, how is... Because I think half of the Xbox audience on console is the Series S, and they paid $300. Are they prepared to now jump into the $800-900 realm when their console gaming was $300? They didn't buy a $500 console; they paid $300, and that's what they're happy with. Now to go from that to now, the cheapest, let's say, cheapest version of Xbox is $900. You think how do you think they're going to react to that world now? Do you think things like having access to Steam, still have Game Pass, is going to be like, well, you know, I'm paying that much more because I'm getting all this? Or do you think they're going to be like, man, this is not what I wanted, at least not to this cost? What do you think about that for those Xbox Series? Because Microsoft groomed a very low-costing fan base where you can buy an Xbox for $300, and with Game Pass together, you're only paying like 100, $400 total, and you got access to 400 games day and date. That's a very cheap, low costing entry to gaming. To go from that to 900, how do you think they're going to respond? The Series S gamers. The X gamers, I don't think they'll have a problem because I think those guys would pay whatever price to get the best premium product. But the Series S gamers, they chose that for a reason because they don't really care about the bells and whistles and all this stuff. They want a good, cheap entry to gaming. So how are those guys going to react?
Well, I think at that point, you're going to have to rely on accessibility. And what I mean by that is that you're going to have some options to just be able to get access points. For example, like we were talking about the existing consoles going in 4 years, 5 years into the next generation, that will, you know what I mean? And like if they have access on those pre-existing consoles,
like cross-gen, like they don't have to jump early.
That's what I'm saying. So if you're playing, let's say specifically first-party stuff, and they have a version that is still be able to run on the native consoles that already exist, I think that's going to be a strategy they're going to have to do. However, eventually, when you get into year 4, year 5, like for example, GTA 6, you're going to have to shit or get off the pot. You're not going to be able to sit there on a PS4 or an Xbox One and say, why am I not getting a GTA 6? I'm like, well, dude, your hardware is 6 years old and the tech is 13 years old. You're not going to be able to play this game on there. Nobody is. Like, no one's going to have a 13-year-old PC and be able to play GTA 6 on it. You're going to have to upgrade it. So eventually, as you go through, you're going to have the mindset that eventually I got to replace this. And like I said, it's going to be shit or get off the pot time for everybody. Because on the PS4, there's still 40 million people, active users playing on the PS4. And I think there's 15 or 20. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember the exact number on the Xbox side, still playing on the Xbox One. That when it comes to GTA 6, you're going to have 60 million plus people on the two consoles combined are going to have to
make a decision,
move up if they want to play GTA 6. You want to play GTA 6? You're going to have to buy a $600, $700 console to play that.
And
otherwise,
that's the crazy part.
Sorry.
Do you know what's crazy? They would have been better buying the consoles at launch. You got it cheaper.
It was fucking cheaper.
This is the first time early adopters win. This is the first time in any gaming generation. Because usually if you wait, you get a cheaper console, and now you have a huge established library of games that came out over the past 3, 4, 5 years.
Right.
Now it's like if you waited, you screwed yourself. Because you could have, in fact, you could have bought an Xbox Series X 2 years ago for $350. Remember when they had that sale over Black Friday? $350. You could have got a Series X packed in with Diablo. You should have gotten it for $350, packed with Diablo 4 when you had the chance.
Or
now $600.
The PS5 digital. Remember the PS5 digital at launch was $399.
Yeah, you could have had that.
US. Right?
Yeah.
I bought a digital. Up here, we called it the unicorn because no one had a digital PS5 up here because they were so rare to find. I ended up getting it from a buddy, which I paid him $100. Listen, man. Hey, kids, let me tell you something. I'm 50 years old, right? And all the guys that work for me are anywhere between the ages of 17 and 23 years old, okay? These kids got computers, buy bots, all kinds of shit at home. So you know what I did? I put up a $100 bill at work and I said, anybody who gets me a PS5 gets us $100. In 5 minutes, I had a PS5 already gotten. This is when you couldn't get them in 2020 during the pandemic. There was a shortage.
Hey,
the kid got me a PS5 digital. And I said, there you go. I gave him $100 cash. The kid walked away, gave me my PS5 digital. Anyway, the point is, at the time, it was $399 for a PS5 digital, right? And now it's more expensive. So I'm like, holy shit. Okay, yeah, it was actually the better time to adopt early for the first time in history. It's never been done before, but I'm telling you the reason why. The reason why is to prepare you for the next jump that not going to seemingly be as big. So, like I said, I bought the Pro for $700. That was the last console I bought. The Series X I bought 5 years ago, right? And it's still sitting there. Series S, I actually have one too. I used it in a different room, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I got 3 regular PS5s in the house, right? The Pro is in my studio. The other 3 are in different rooms of the house, and I got those all pretty close to launch. The Pro is the last one I bought, $700. So now, if they come out with a PlayStation 6 or a Series X2, whatever they're going to call it, and it's $800. I'm going to say, well, I mean, I spent $700 on a Pro, $800 for a Series X2. We're just making up names. Is not that bad. But like you said, if you had bought it for $299 and they charge $800, you're like, holy shit. Another example, Nintendo Switch. My Nintendo Switch OLED I bought for a hell of a lot cheaper than what it is now. I think like 400, 450, whatever it was. Even Canadian, it was like $500, right? The Switch 2 in Canada now with the Mario Kart World is $800. We're not buying that. Because I'm like, I'm not spending $800 on these kids so they could play it for 3 days and then it's just gonna rot in the corner of the basement for like a year. Like, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, I just can't find I can't find any financial reason to do that. So like, there's a sticker shock on that side of things for me. Plus, they only have one first party game right now. I'm like, no, they can wait.
Just wait.
But the other thing is too, guess what? Nintendo doesn't really drop their prices either. So even 3 years from now, that thing is still going to be $800. So they would have to have some pretty damn compelling software for me to get back in there and buy it literally for my kids, because I don't have time.
Especially for kids. That's a lot of money.
I don't have time. I got these 2 consoles I play here in my studio, my channel. I do all the stuff that I do on my channel, and I don't have time for all that stuff. You know what I mean? I don't have time for a third console. Like, come on, man. I work. It's not like I'm home all day sitting around playing games.
But the Canadian pricing, $800, that is a lot for a system.
I know some people fight me on it, brother.
Nintendo, especially Nintendo. They're not pushing the envelope and stuff like that. You're like, all right, Glassdoor Gamer, thank you for super. Says Xbox is DOA, 2 gens of giving up on hardware. Well, I mean, it's not their business no more. They're just not good at that, so they had to move on. The Genius, real question with this new direction is how does MS retain those paid Xbox Core and Game Pass account when PC is open free for online play? Or I think he's talking about the lower Game Pass account, not the day and date, but the ones people pay for just to play online. How do they retain those guys, right? Because if you bring them to this new PC hardware, they could play their games through Steam, and Steam Online is free. I think Microsoft's willing to take that risk. I think their losses on the hardware is bigger than that. I think their model of Xbox consoles is so damning that they're willing to take some risk in other areas just to get away from it. That's just my thoughts on that one. What do you think, Bag? Because you know what I'm talking about? So you got Game Pass subscribers, right? That has the day one games. So that's like the main thing. But there's also a lower tier Game Pass that doesn't get day one games. Some are subscribed to that because all they really care about is the online. Because if you don't have that, then you're not going to be able to play Call of Duty. You're not going to be able to play the paid versions of online. So what about those guys when they say, all right, fine, I'm going to brace this new thing, and they realize, wait a minute, I don't have to buy this lower tier Game Pass to play Call of Duty. I could just play it through Steam and it's free. Oh, cool. I'm going to cancel my subscription. I'm just going to play the free, online version on PC. What do you think about that? Do you think Microsoft's willing to accept that risk and be like, you know what?
Boy,
like the console outweighs that.
Right. That's a hell of a question. I don't even know where to tackle that from, because what ends up happening there at that point is that there's a lot of confusion as to where this is all going to move and what direction it's going to move. Because like you said, PC online gaming is free. And then if you have, like, let's say, for example, you have this dedicated box that's under the TV or whatever that runs PC, I don't think that they're going to allow it to run on a PC OS system where you get the free online. I think that they're still going to lock it in there because there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money made on that Xbox Live and even the PS Plus. That's still billions of dollars.
But how would Steam react to that? Because if you install Steam and Valve is like, wait a minute, they buy our game, but you're saying they can't play online because you locked it, then you can't run Steam. We're not going to allow that. Think about it. If you were Steam and they told you a customer bought your game, but they can't play it because Microsoft locked it, how would Valve react to that? How would Valve be like, wait a minute, people buy Steam games, but they can't play the game online, which is something we offer as part of our Steam client? Like, no. The games, they get to play these games online, or you just won't have Steam. You can't have Steam on now. But that's a good point, though. Microsoft's going to have to come up with that balance.
That's big. Those are conversations above our pay grade.
Steam's not like that
I would imagine
you buy a Steam game and can't play the online. Yeah, go ahead.
My guess is that they've ironed this out behind the scenes before they even talk about it out loud. By the time they've made a commercial or a video and saying, "Hi, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this," those have been ironed out, obviously, well behind the scenes, because you're not going to have Gabe Newell sitting there going like this, going, "What? You know what I mean? As he's watching TV with his feet up on the counter with a beer on his stomach, he's not going to discover it then.
Yeah.
He's going to know like 2 years before saying, hey, this
Yeah.
is our plan. How are we going to hash this out? How are we going to work this out? What are the details? Even when people start talking about the Asus ROG Xbox Ally X, that name is too long. And then when they talk about that, the name is too long, man. It's like Shield and Marvel. Shorten it. So when they have that, and they're like, well, now we're going to access PlayStation games.
Just call it X,
right? Because okay, we'll call it X-ROG.
X-ROG.
Perfect.
X-ROG.
Okay, so the thing is, people saying, well, technically we can play PlayStation exclusives on there too. And I'm like, well, yeah, because they're available on Steam. You're not getting day and date. You're going to get games that are already there like a year later, 6 months later, 2 years later, whatever. I'm sure at some point before we even discovered that, probably 2 years ago, they said, hey, this is something that came up in our conversations when we were doing our R&D. What do you guys at Sony think about that? And then Sony guys are probably sitting there going, okay, well, show us what you got. What's your specs? What's your ideas? What's the OS? What are you doing? And they're saying, okay, so you're going to be able to basically work around this and access Spider-Man 2 or whatever, right? And then they're probably like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Because they want to buy it. It's money for us, right? We're the publisher. We get 70%. You get 30%. We both make money. And we call it a day. They shake hands and they walk away. So by the time we as customers discover this, which we just discovered like a couple of weeks ago, they've already made that decision, probably back in 2024 or 2023. That decision has been made. So as for what actually gets revealed, I don't know. We have to wait and see. So for us, we could talk in circles all day about what we think might happen, but I don't know the details of that until either I hear about it from someone or they come out and say, hi guys, this is what's happening with this, this, and this. And they iron out the details as to what as to what's going on with a new hardware and how this is going to work, who's going to get what. But in the end, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I really don't know. We're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah. Like
eventually, it's going to be a problem because a lot of people are jumping and moving to PC, right? And then the console gamers from all the consoles are going, why do we get screwed? Why is PC Game Pass $10, but on the console it's $20? Why does PC get free online and we got to pay for it? So it almost feels like the console gamers are subsidizing those PC players by paying more. And I'm like, well, that's not fair for me. Why do I have to pay $20 a month for the Game Pass plus another whatever, right? Another $10 for the, and it's just like, you're just looking at it going, that's a lot of money. And I'm like, why do I spend all that?
And they try to sell it to you because they're like, oh, because you also get the access to PC version, but you're like, I don't play on PC though. So like that, so you're paying money for a feature you're not really using, right? Like,
So when you see people jump to PC, I get it. Obviously, now the other thing is PC. I'm not a dabbler when it comes to hardware. I want simple hardware. Turn it on. I play my game. I call it a day. I don't want to fart around with, cell shader or, threads and shaders and all this bullshit
and all that,
and moving the cursors back. Oh, should I make it 63 FPS? Should I make it? Get the fuck out of here. Just give me the game, turn it on, give me a performance or a fidelity mode. That's it. Just keep it simple for me. That's the way I like the game and whatever else, right? I'm not going to mess with that stuff. But the thing is, the entry point to like solid PC performance is very expensive. So yes, you will not be paying $20 a month. You'll pay $10 and the online is free. However, the entry point was probably $2,000, right? To get into that ecosystem when you get a video card and everything else and all the other accessories, your monitor, your hard drive, your this, your that. And then you're like, holy shit, okay, that's a $2,000 investment. Yes, it's an investment that'll pay off later, but it's still an investment up front that a lot of people don't have access to. So that's why console gaming will always be there. However, it feels like console gamers are forced to pay the price because if you buy a console for anywhere between $500 and $800, that's infinitely cheaper than what you would get for a PC. So I don't know, man. I don't know the answer. Like I said, we could talk in circles about this all day. But JD Gamer, what's up, dude? I didn't even see you there. I saw you with the 2 super chats dropping in there, brother.
All right. So
I'm actually gonna have to get going pretty soon. I got a call I gotta make soon.
All right.
Holy
so let's
shit!
wrap this
You and I've been talking for 2.5 hours.
I know this went by quick. So let's wrap this up real quick. We'll start with JD Gamer's chat. The new Xbox PC proposition is lots of good games, great value, the power you want, and great services. So why wouldn't you get it if you're a gamer? Because gamers have opinions on what is great value, good games, and hardware that they want. That's all opinionated. Like, for example, it's clear Nintendo doesn't have a powerful handheld, but for those who bought it, it's powerful enough for them to buy it.
Right.
So all of that is, I think the problem with you, JD Gamer, is you want to impose your ideas of good games, great value, and power that you want on somebody else's purchases. Man, stop pocket watching. You know what I'm saying? P23, he says, what is your opinion on the leaked Quest Xbox, the Meta? Any thoughts on that? I think it's just more
funny?
Xbox branding. I think it's
I
just
don't
more
know
Xbox
what
branding.
I was
Meta Quest
doing
3.
right. No, I was doing my stream last night, and I was kind of bitching in the chat when I was talking. I'm like, yeah, there wasn't a lot of news today, and I made a joke about it on Twitter. I'm like, it's funny, you get one day with no information, and I feel like Will Smith at the end of the last episode of Fresh Prince, where he's standing in the empty room just looking left to right, and there's nothing there. And I'm like, I felt like that today because like one day without news, and then some guys like, did you see this MetaQuest 3 Xbox thing? I'm like, no, I haven't seen anything about it. So when I woke up this morning, I checked it out, and lo and behold, I see this thing. It was a leaked photo, and I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Like, I didn't hear anything about it. No one reached out to me. No one said anything. No inside info. Nothing. So I don't know what it is. What does it mean? Does it mean that you get to like what? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand what it is.
So
like,
it's a MetaQuest 3, and they just again put the word Xbox on it, and it comes with an Xbox controller. Because with the MetaQuest, even games that are not VR, inside the headset, it creates like a theater-like TV screen in your headset. So you could play like on a 65-inch screen and play your games.
Okay.
Yeah. So the headsets you could watch movies in the headset on this huge ass screen, like if you're in the theater. So the headsets are capable, VR headsets are capable to provide a TV-like experience. So you're just like watching TV shows or movie like on a regular TV. So like you put the headset on, it's black space, but you have this big screen in front of you. So it's a TV screen.
Do you have access to Game Pass, your library through there, or
no,
whatever?
It's a TV screen. It's a TV screen. So like you could watch Netflix if you want.
Yeah, but I could do that now. Like I have a MetaQuest, you can do that.
Yeah, but let's say you have a 32-inch TV and you have a VR headset, you can make that screen 65-inch, 80-inch.
Oh, okay. So it's basically just picking up the signal, and you can just basically project it to the headset.
Just transcribe and like you have that thing on.
Okay.
Like sometimes you go watch a movie and it feels like you're in the theater in this super huge screen in front of you. Yeah, so you can do that.
So I can have Lady Dimitrescu.
I've done it on my VR. It's pretty cool. The only thing is you have a headset on. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes like unless you have like with the PSVR 1, it wasn't a 4K headset, so you didn't get the full graphics or whatever. But depending on the headset, so it's pretty cool. You could have this huge ass screen if you don't have it in your home.
So technically, I can play Resident Evil Village, and I could see Lady Dimitrescu with the tight dress on, and I could see
big, beautiful.
I could see her ass in 65-inch screen and just possibly not play the game with any pants on. Okay, all right, I get it. Yeah,
so you look at your TV screen, you see her like this, but if you're playing a VR, you could be like this. Whoa, this is a big ass. Like you're literally walking across the screen. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. All right, JD Gamer, another super day, and he says,
"What's up, JD Gamer?"
He says, you have to make up your mind on this. If MS is giving all PC Xbox capability, then that will include those $399 PCs too. Or will it just be those new Xbox PCs that are coded so? So it will include the $399 PCs, but what type of hardware do you have with a $399 PC that can actually play games? You're not playing Grand Theft Auto 6 on a $399 PC. I'll tell you that right now, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. You're not even going to play Outer Worlds 2 on a $399 PC. That's way too weak. You're not, $399 PCs are garbage. Like that's not even gaming PC. That's e-machines. You're talking about emails and spreadsheets. You're not having a gaming machine where you can play Outer Worlds or all these games that Microsoft is pushing out on a $399 PC. You're not playing Gears E-Day on a $399 PC, bro. You don't have the hardware. You're gonna have to spend money on PC to get at least appropriate hardware, right? Minimum just to get 1080p decent. You're spending $700-800 at least, and that's
the thing
just
is, you could
minimum.
Future-proof. I mean, if you have the money for it, you could future-proof yourself for like 4 years, 3-4 years. But the thing is, unfortunately, the technology is moving forward even faster than it ever has before, where every time you think you future-proof yourself, all of a sudden they're like, oh, by the way, now there's a 6090. Oh, now there's a 790. Now there's a, like, you're like, oh, come on, dude, I just bought this. You know what I mean? And now they're pushing more and more and more and more. And I'm like, I can't keep up. But I mean, and that's like I said, I don't do the PC gaming thing. I don't need to play my games at 965,000 frames per second. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to do that. I enjoy what I play with the performance I got. And that's all there is to it. I have a good time with it. As long as it's 60 and above, I can't do the 30 anymore because once you do 60 and above, everything else looks like 80s breakdancing with a strobe light. You know what I mean? Like when you get into the 30s, you get back in the 30 FPS and you're like, you see them moving, you're like, what the fuck is happening? Why are they moving like that? And they're like, oh, I'm playing at 30 FPS. And you know what I mean? Oh man, it's like a strobe light effect. So yeah, good enough for me, man. Give me 60 and above. I'm a simple guy. Give me beautiful. Give me great music, great graphics, great environments, sound, story, gameplay. Give me all that. I don't give a shit about everything.
No tinkering. We don't want to tinker. We don't want to go to a
Russian
website, download a patch. Like
no tinkering. No,
right,
I don't want to do that.
Moving on, JD Gamer. Expect Game Pass to drop the online requirement and reorganize it, but something else will be locked behind the Game Pass service wall that you will want. They're gonna, who knows? They might drop the online requirement maybe, and then like the main thing about Game Pass, really the main thing about Game Pass, the number one draw is the day one games. That's the number one draw and why it sets us off apart from every other subscription service. The day one games, not just Microsoft's first party, but whatever third party they are able, like Clear Obscure. That was an absolute great catch to have day one on Game Pass. You know what I'm saying? That was a huge catch. So anything that Microsoft can do to get games like that, that's the big draw, right? But I think also, I'll be honest, if they keep on with this $80 price point, more and more games, the higher the price they raise games quickly, the more subscription service is going to look good. As long as Microsoft or the people who are providing subscription service don't do what Disney Plus and Netflix, because it seems those two guys every 6 months they're raising the price. So it's like, well, shit, everything's getting expensive, whether it's subscription or it's buying it. It's like, I mean, at some point we're gonna start pirating shit. Like, what the hell's going on here, right? Because subscriptions, at least on the movie side, they're getting expensive too, because they're constantly raising those prices like frequently. I don't know how many times I see Netflix tell me, oh, give you a warning, as of October, we're raising the price to this. I'm like, you said as of April, you're going to raise the price. Now, October? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And Glassdoor Gamer. MS going to act like they've revolutionized PC gaming. I mean, you know, they're going to make themselves good. Before you leave, one last thing, all right? One last topic. And hopefully it don't take too long. Now that we talk about Xbox, PlayStation. Do you see PlayStation sticking with their traditional model? Like the PS6 is going to be a traditional, nothing different. They're going to go to AMD. They're going to customize it. They're going to put it together. They're going to look at what is the big thing for this console. Like, right? Like for the PS5, it was the DualSense and the SSD and all this other shit. Now they're going to have a new gimmick, a new thing, but they're going to put it together. Going to sell it out a loss initially, right? And boom, PlayStation 6. Or do you think they're going to do something different? Completely out of the box? Nintendo? No. You think
I don't think so. I think, listen, I know that when it comes, like, I know Japanese business very well. And one thing that they like to do, that if something works, I hate to use the phrase when it comes to Japanese business, because, you know, it's an American phrase with a Japanese business model. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But they are very risk averse. And the reason why is because the Japanese people are, as a whole, like I said, I've done business with them. They're very conservative, right? They don't do wacky shit. And all of a sudden, well, I mean, they do wacky shit. I mean, they sell used panties in like, you know, in vending machines. That's wacky shit. But I mean, I'm talking about in terms of big business. So the thing is, I absolutely see them they're not selling that console at a loss. I guarantee you it's going to be not much more, but it'll be more expensive than the Pro. It will not be cheaper. They were not going to sell it at a loss. I also think that they're going to sell the hard drive separately. That's my call. I think it's going to be a digital console for everybody.
They're going to stick to that model. Okay.
Yes. I think that the hard drive will be sold separately. So technically, they never said, well, we're locking you out. You still have an option. You just got to pay for it. And that's going to be for all these companies moving forward. They're going to say, well, we never said no. We just didn't say it was free. You know what I mean?
I mean,
So
PC
it's
did
going to
it.
be
Like
right. So
when's
they're
the
going to do
last
the
time you have a
same.
PC with a built-in disk drive?
Yeah, like never. Yeah. So you'd have to buy it separately.
You have to
So
buy
they're
it
all
separately.
taking cards for that. But I think that the PlayStation model will remain the same for next generation. You're going to have your games. They're going to be there day one for the exclusive for the day one. And then eventually 6 months to a year to 2 years down the road, they release it on PC. And then, of course, anybody who has an Asus X ROG, whatever you want to call it, will be able to have access to that too. But if you want to play it day one, you're going to have to buy a PS6. I do not see them doing anything different. If they do something different, color me shocked. I will be completely shocked that they do. But I don't see them doing anything different. I really don't, because why would you? It's working. It's not carrying Sony. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, so, PlayStation's carrying Sony." It is making them an incredible amount of money. This Sony WB thing, we're not going to get into that, but I'm just going to say the reason why they're talking about that is not for the video games. They're doing that for the Hollywood side of things because Sony Pictures and Sony Animation make a shitload of money for Sony, right? So the three things, you got Sony Pictures, Sony Animation, Sony PlayStation, make them a lot of money. As a result of that, that's why they're moving forward. They're at the table. They're not. It's not done. It's not a done deal.
Other
They're
people will be involved, right? Other people probably.
Right, and other people are involved
imagine.
and interested because the IP is very precious. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and DC are precious properties, right? So, anyways, the point is that I see it being the same model, and there's no reason to do otherwise. It's working for them. It'll continue to work for them. They're going to be getting Xbox games considered third-party publishing games at that point. I mean, it's already now that's a point. So they're going to have first-party stuff, third-party stuff, Microsoft stuff, making 30% off of that. Why would you change anything? For example, I bring this up all the time. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 that came out, 84% of people bought it on PlayStation, the actual copies. We're not talking about Game Pass numbers or anything else, or PC Game Pass or console Game Pass, or people who purchased on Xbox. 84% of people who actually bought the game bought it on PlayStation. Sony collected 30% of those profits for doing absolutely nothing. They didn't have the marketing rights. So they didn't have to pay for the marketing rights. They didn't have to help with the distribution or anything of the game, or even development of the game, because they did not have any rights to the game. They collected 30% for doing nothing. Why the hell would you change that? Right? Think about it from a logical point of view. You're just sitting there going, well, we're making billions of dollars and we're not doing anything with that stuff. Yeah, go ahead. You know what I mean? Keep it the same way. And then, but, I don't see it changing. So, I mean, long story longer, I actually see the same business model moving forward because, like I said, Japanese are very conservative in their business. When they're making money, there's no need to change what they're doing. That's just the way I see it.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, I may be wrong.
JD Gamer,
but
I mean, this is just how we look at things, right? Again, we won't know until it's released, right? A lot of it we have to look at hindsight. We go back to Microsoft finally releasing, games on PlayStation, right? When they released Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, the first 4, and they released it in February, March of April 2024. That means they started at a minimum porting these games back in January of 2023. Maybe, and if they started development in January, February of 2023, that means the conversations with Sony started in 2022. Like, hey, they call Sony, be like, hey, we want to make Sea of Thieves for your console. We need a dev kit. And then the visiting, hey, what about this technology? So technically, something like Sea of Thieves, they were having these conversations at least late 2022. Then they get into production for the port. Let's say if they were able to get a port, assuming they're able to do the port in a year, that means they started their port in January, February of 2023 for a February, March release. You see what I'm saying? But we didn't see that in 2022. We didn't see that. In fact, 2023 was all about the ABK deal, and we were talking about what games from the ABK deal are now going to be exclusive to Xbox. Meanwhile, they're already making games for PlayStation. While we're out here on podcasts talking about, damn, is Call of Duty going to be exclusive? What's up with this 10-year deal? Oh, the next Overwatch or the next thing is going to be exclusive. We were all talking about the type of exclusives Microsoft's going to keep from these ABK IPs. Meanwhile, they're porting Sea of Thieves, their own first party, onto PlayStation under our noses. They even said, I love the interview, that they were going through, Sony headquarters in secret, meaning they didn't have like memorabilia. They didn't wear Microsoft memorabilia or Sea of Thieves. They just wore regular clothes. They look like regular Joes walking into their offices, walking into their studios, and keeping quiet about getting help and all that stuff. So nobody knew. Nobody realized, wait a minute, isn't that Rare developers? What are you guys doing here? Like, what's going on here? Right? So it's true. We're not going to know a lot about this stuff until it actually happens. And then we could look at things from a hindsight perspective and be like, oh, so this is what they've been doing over the last year, 2 years. On JD Gamer, Sony lost their TV, computer, phone, camera empire to Samsung, to Korean plus Chinese companies because they are risk averse. I've seen this story before. I don't know. I don't know about that statement because the thing is, if Microsoft's new directions, they're not trying to compete in the console market. They're just aligning what's best for them, right? So, like, who would technically be an actual direct competitor to PlayStation? Because to me, Nintendo went with their mobile style of market. Microsoft's really engaging in the PC market and all devices PC strategy. We technically don't have an actual direct console competitor to PlayStation in the direct sense, like the normal, like Series X and PS5. There is no question those two devices are competitors. They're going after the same market. Next generation forward, who's that direct competitor to a PlayStation that's like for like, that's doing it exactly the way PlayStation's doing it? I think everybody just found it. I think just everybody found their lane, and they're going to excel at it. Microsoft's going to excel at this play anywhere, multiple device environment. PlayStation's going to excel as a console-centric traditional console environment, and Nintendo got the mobile market on lock. And if you want to play on your TV, you can play on your TV. But this is it. These are the devices. Pick which one you want to play on. And then that's it. So unless someone like Apple comes in and be like, you know what? We're going to make a console traditional with exclusives. There's no interruption. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad for the industry. It sounds good because now people could pick the lane that's best for them. If you love this play anywhere, multi-device strategy, PC strategy, Microsoft got that for you. If you like the mobile strategy with great first party, Nintendo got you. And then if you want the traditional console with great third party support and great first party support, that's simple, PlayStation got you. And that's it. I don't think one is going to impede over the other. I don't think these strategies, they're going to hurt one another. I think they're in their own lane and they're going to be fine. Microsoft's going to be fine in their lane. PlayStation's going to be fine in their lane. Nintendo's going to be fine in their lane. You know? Now, would you like a new competitor to step in the ring? And if you did, then who? You wouldn't like to see Apple jump in and be like, you know what? Yeah, I think it's time for us to get in the game.
Too much. It's going to get too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
What do you do?
All right. So I guess we can wrap it up with that. All right. I know we've been here almost 2 hours. Yeah. So I'm going to say this. So
it's almost 3.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. We started. Yeah. So, oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, it's 6 for you, right? It's almost 6 for you, right? East Coast.
Yeah, it's almost 6. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's get to it. Give your outro. Let people know where they can find you, where, what time, all that stuff.
Well, listen, this was a hell of a conversation. You know what's really funny? I actually just went to Twitter a little while ago, and I saw people talking and saying, hey, man, these guys are having a great conversation, these two guys here or whatever. And it's been nothing short of awesome. It's been a good time. 2 gentlemen having a conversation. No fighting, no console warring, no nothing. Just having a good conversation about stuff. Everybody in the chat, you've been absolutely amazing. Hey, even Ron, I love you too, buddy. Because everybody's allowed to have differing opinions, man, and it's all good. And you know what the thing is? At the end of the day, like I said before, when you guys were when P-Rock had to leave for a few minutes, this is supposed to be fun for us. So if it's fun for us, let's keep it fun. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, I am putting. There you go. Link to my channel is right up below. You can find me talking about all kinds of stuff. And hey, listen, when I put up PlayStation news, I don't get as many views. So let's get some PlayStation people in there and start liking some of these videos, man. But my Xbox videos get monster views. Well, you know, I have more. I have a lot of friends in that side of the world, right?
You have a big following, yeah.
Yeah, so I have a lot there, and the channel is growing. Having a great time, man. Having a great time gaming. This was an awesome conversation, man. I'm so happy that we got to do this. But either way, yeah, even Ron. But anyways, you guys all been awesome. JD Gamer. You've been crazy tonight with those super chats, brother. It's been unbelievable. But anyways, everybody, find me on the Mag Show. You can find me at I Am the Mag on the PlayStation, Xbox, consoles, and of course, middle-aged game guy. Or just look at me up the mag on Twitter, whatever. You can find me there. And listen, man, hit me up anytime. Talk to me. Do everything. Thank you, P-Rock, for putting my link in there. Hit me up anytime, man. I always answer everybody back. I talk to everybody. We have discussions, talk about gaming, talk about this. People ask me questions. I always answer. I never ignore anybody. So anyways, everybody have yourself a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful night. I got some other stuff to do. It's Saturday night. P-Rock's got stuff to do. It's Saturday night. We are out of here. Everybody enjoy.
You guys take care. Your only friend is YouTube Streets Puertorock77. I hope you enjoyed this stream. And thank you so much for recommending Mag here. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Love this legacy. Love the stuff he talked about in the past. Love his perspective on Xbox and all things gaming. Hope you enjoyed this another episode. I will see you guys soon. Tuesday, 60 Frames No Lag. Podcast is the next thing up, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Until then, enjoy your weekend. We are out of here. Peace.